My father is unhappy with my plans, so he took back his gifts.
Can't do that.
I, 23 female, have been with my boyfriend for nearly 3 years. When we met, I lived abroad and have been long distance for a while with many visits in between. He is so wonderful. We are committed to each other and have plans to move in together as soon as the stars align. By the way, this comes from The Hated Daughter. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So my dad, 52 male, doesn't like my boyfriend, but he has only met him once and really has no reason to. My theory is that he doesn't want me to move abroad again, and that is the reason he isn't fond of him. My dad has a history of spouting out hurtful comments to my family, and anger is always his knee-jerk reaction. I actually have a list of the hurtful things he has done or said to me over the years in case something huge happens. This Christmas, I will be traveling to see my boyfriend and his family. I knew this would upset my dad, but it was the best time for me to take time off of work. I sent my parents this text message to tell them the news. Hi, Mom and Dad. I have to tell you that I booked a trip to see my boyfriend for Christmas. I feel like this will upset you, but I hope you know that I did not intentionally mean to hurt you. The reason I chose this time to go is because I can only take a few days off of work because of state holidays. I love you both so much, and I know I've disappointed you a lot. Please understand that hurting either of you is the last thing I ever want to do. I do, however, have a relationship with someone I care very deeply about, and I know that boyfriend wouldn't be welcome in your house. I wish I could spend the holidays with all of the people I love, but I know that isn't possible right now. I thought I could come home before I leave to have our own Christmas celebration, but I understand if you don't want to see me. I'm sorry that I sent this as a text message, but I knew I wouldn't be able to say everything I wanted if I phoned you. Please know that I love you both very much, and I hope that you still love me too. A few minutes later, I received the following text from my dad. I want $9,000 by the end of the month for the car, or I am coming to get it. The choices you make affect your whole family and not just you. Think about it! Think about it. I was nice and paid for you to travel, and this is my reward. Thanks a whole bunch. And you say you care. I really don't think you do. If you did, you wouldn't be doing this to me and your family. Oh, and $500 for your new phone, or I'll be taking that too. The mentioned car was a gift my parents gave me in high school, and they also recently bought me a new phone. There's no way in heck I will have $9,000 by the end of the week. To be honest, I don't really care about losing these two things because I live close enough to a grocery store and to my office to survive without a car, and it's not a big deal. However, I feel like this message behind it speaks loudly. I live 5 hours away from my parents, and without a car, it's not easy to ever see them again. I guess that is what he wants. I am not canceling my trip, and if he doesn't calm down, I guess he will take my car and my phone. I don't even know how to respond to him at this point. Another thing that bothers me is my younger sister was also bought a car as I was. She has traveled to go all over to raves. She got tattoos. She does parties, does MDMA, and I guess it's okay. But me, I'm the one with a good job, a good plan, and a good relationship is the bad kid. As a side note, my boyfriend had moved in with me for the summer while he had a break from university, and my dad refused to speak with me or see me because of it. It's silly to me that he can choose not to talk to me for the whole summer, but as soon as I miss Christmas, I am some kind of Satan child. I am very close with my mom, and she supports me in everything I do. She is always the person I go to when something has happened between my dad and I. She has witnessed as well as been the victim of his outbursts. She told me that she knows I'm an adult and that I can't help who I fall in love with and that I'll have a great time. It hurts me that after everything she's seen over the years, she stays with him. But I guess that's another post for another time. I'm sorry if this sounds very first world problemish. It's hard for me to be a constant source of disappointment for my dad, but I also want to live my life my way. Time to bring out the high school emo kid CDs and complain more about how my parents will never understand me. I know that the holidays are important to some people, but it is really just one day. I guess my question is, what do I do to try and mend the relationship, or is it worth it? I don't know what he's trying to accomplish by threatening me and pushing me away. Does he think that being angry and saying hurtful things will make me want to spend time with him instead of my wonderful boyfriend? I don't know what to do. And we have an edit. As the day goes on, he has also threatened to take my laptop, my TV, my game consoles, my bed, my pots and pans, etc. I guess I should be fortunate that my parents bought these things, but is this crossing the line? Sophia?
Yeah.
Yes.
You can't. How? How is he going to take what? Like, how would he do that? No, you can't take back a gift. That's like legally, you can't. You have legal claim over these things.
Edit number 2. He texted me and said, we need to talk. Not over text, not over phone, face to face. Not sure what to do here. And we have the update. Are we ready?
I'm ready.
I didn't respond to any of my dad's texts over the weekend because they were hurtful, and I didn't know what to say. As I mentioned in the original post, I was upset with his reaction, but losing my car/phone/TV/whatever else he threatened wasn't as upsetting for me as the message behind it. Yesterday, I was hanging out with a friend and my phone started to ring. It was my dad, so I let the call go to voicemail. And when I listened to the message, I was surprised to hear the following message. Amid sobs, "Hi, OP, it's Dad. I wanted to phone and say I'm sorry. I'm just so sad and sorry. I will call you later. Bye."
Whoa, switch up.
Are we getting to the actual
I think maybe.
place?
I think maybe.
We might be getting there. The call was followed up by a text message that said, "Can I call you? I promise I'll be nice." He did call me later on, and I answered. He was crying again and apologized for his behavior. He told me that he was sorry that he reacted the way he did. He admitted that he always reacts with anger first and that he doesn't know why he does it. He said that he will try taking a deep breath or going for a walk and that his anger is something he needs to work on. I told him my reasons for traveling at Christmas, and I also said that I knew my boyfriend wouldn't be welcome to his house for Christmas. His response was, "I wish you would have talked to me first. I'm different around Christmas, and I probably would have let him come." This made me roll my eyes because he truly did not talk to me for 4 months this summer when my boyfriend stayed with me. Even when we were in my hometown one weekend, my dad wouldn't let me visit him if I was bringing my boyfriend along. I understand that Christmas is important to him, but he also has refused to talk to me for a long time. How am I supposed to tell you about it when you literally won't talk to me?
It don't make sense.
I know this is a crazy idea, Sophia.
Yeah.
But in order to talk to you, I need you to talk to me.
No way.
I know.
Crazy,
No.
right?
Look,
Doesn't make sense.
I might just be
Nonsense.
a crazy guy.
Freaking nonsense.
I might be a crazy guy.
He's crazy.
But
Lock him up.
that's how I do it. If I'm talking to you, you got to talk to me, and then we're talking. Not so long ago, I told my dad that I was sorry that I hurt his feelings, but I did not tell him that I would change my plans. I don't feel like I've done anything wrong, and I know that talking to him before this wouldn't have mattered anyways. Even though he now says he would be okay with my boyfriend coming for Christmas, I don't think he would have responded favorably to it. He told me that his feelings are hurt because he believes that Christmas is about family being together and that it won't be the same without me there. Family being together means you don't freaking threaten to steal every single possession someone owns because they don't do what you want. He ended the call by telling me that he loved me and asked if I still loved him too. I talked to my mom this morning. My dad is on a business trip this week, and she said that he was extremely angry on Saturday when I sent the message, but that yesterday he was very sad and crying most of the day and that he hasn't slept. She told me that at his angriest, he admitted that I'd be out of his life if I didn't come home for Christmas. She told me that she responded with, "If you're willing to cut your daughter out of your life, that is your decision. She will not be out of mine." She said that he left a note for my mom saying that she needs to talk to me because our daughter has to be home for Christmas. She told me that she agreed with me that discussing this beforehand would not have mattered. By the way, you know what always matters is that you can find all of the OK Storytime content that your little heart can take. Because if you go to Spotify, Apple, or your favorite podcast app and you search OK Storytime, by gosh, golly darn, you will find 2,500 episodes there to listen to for basically infinity.
That's just the truth of it.
You will basically, if you just spend all of your waking hours listening to us, it's almost impossible to run out of content.
I agree.
I wish other things I listen to had that, but they don't because they don't put in the work. So I definitely hurt my dad's feelings, and I do feel bad about that. At the same time, the comments I read from all of you guys made me feel better. I don't regret my decision because I know that my boyfriend wouldn't have been welcomed regardless of what my dad says now. My mom said caring about family needs to happen all year, not just at Christmas. And I believe that she is right. If anything, this will give him something to think about next year. I knew he would react angrily, but I booked my trip despite that, so I hope he realizes how important my relationship is to me. This probably sounds pathetic, but my actions this past weekend were definitely the ballsiest things I've done in my life. Big props, and yeah, don't say, oh, this might sound pathetic. No, absolutely big props to you. Maybe it was so hard because you had a freaking bulldozer of a father that goes crazy every time you're like, oh, hey.
You have a slight change of plans.
Yeah, I have a slight change
He
of plans.
demands $9,000.
Could I have the last muffin in the thing? No.
If you pay me $1 million.
I felt really empowered after talking to him.
Yes.
I am a pretty emotional person, but I didn't cry when he called, and I'm glad I didn't. It's hard for me to hear my tough guy father cry, but I am glad that I didn't break down too. His actions in the past have dictated my plans, and he needs to realize that I feel like this was my first big step to becoming grown up, and to be truly becoming independent, but I know that this will have to be an ongoing thing. Again, I want to thank you guys so much for everything. I'm not sure what will happen in the long run because of this, but I'm going to see my boyfriend. I stood up for myself, and I feel pretty proud of myself, and you freaking should.
Keep standing up for yourself.
Yes.
And your dad is going to realize that you won't back down, and then he's going to start listening to you, which, I mean, it is proved.
Yes.
You stood up for yourself, and then he was like, oh, wait, I'm sorry. Do you love me still?
Just keep doing it. You OP, you're freaking on it.
Bluffing.
Yes. And you should be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
Truly, truly, truly.
I caught my husband stealing from me and his mother.
That's an overachiever right there.
There's a fair amount of important background here. Apologies in advance. We typically have a good relationship, occasionally heated discussions, but never any yelling, hitting, profanity, etc. We make up fast, and the good times are really good. We had agreed that we would start trying to conceive at the first of this year and wanted to get pregnant ASAP to take advantage of an insurance situation. By the way, this comes from don't want to throw them away, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, we both have ADHD, both medicated for it. He is maxed out on his meds, and they help him a lot, but he still has frequent trouble with forgetfulness and impulsive decisions. Mine help probably 90% with my focus and impulsivity, but I still struggle occasionally. I work as a mental health professional. Yes, ironic. He has a BA, but not in a marketable field. He is in a low-paying job that only requires a high school diploma. We both feel more comfortable with him being the financial provider and me working very part-time when we have little kids, but this isn't looking like an option. We have lived with his parents for 2 years, paying a very tiny amount of rent. I was making good money, so it wasn't out of necessity, but it's better for his parents to have someone staying with them, and it's letting us save a lot. My job was overly stressful, so several months ago, I changed to a part-time position where I am far happier, but making a lot less. He doesn't make enough to support us by himself, even with near zero rent. With my decreased income, we arranged the budget so we would still be able to save a little every month. We make all budgeting decisions together, with each of us getting equal say. We each get $25 per month spending money transferred from our joint account to a personal debit card that the other doesn't have access to. We each have a credit card that is for gas and vehicle expenses only. We pay these off monthly with the joint account and use them to maintain good credit. We have financial plans for once the baby arrives, mostly me continuing to increase my salary at work. Tons of very realistic room for growth. Wait, your financial plans for the baby for when the baby arrives is just that you'll get a raise? When we got married, he had about $2,000 credit card debt, which I paid off with my savings. Oof. And we had talks about not having credit card debt. He seemed sincere, but started running a balance on his card again immediately. I asked to look at a statement to make sure it was paid off properly from my savings and found out. I told him I knew, and he felt really bad. I monitored the card for several months, and he was just using it for gas from then on. I continued asking every month if he was running a balance, and he confidently said no every time, including just recently, but I didn't check the statement again. We had a fight last week when he was asked to go on a month-long work trip and accepted without consulting me. He said he had checked the calendar for any major commitments and didn't see any, so he figured it would be okay. He also said he felt bad about temporarily forgetting we were supposed to be having scheduled spicy sleep. And if that had been on the calendar, he wouldn't have accepted. I was upset about him forgetting about baby making and also about being away that long. The longest we've been apart since we started dating is 4 days. My love language is quality time and his is touch, so time apart would be an issue for us. After discussing how upset I was that he had agreed to it without contacting me first and discussing the impact on baby making, he contacted his boss to cancel. During this discussion, I asked if he was trying to get away from me, like a temporary separation, and he said, "The thought had crossed his mind," because he has been feeling very defensive about being a good financial provider. We discuss finances about 2 times a month, usually very calmly, just things like, "How should I categorize this purchase, honey?" And "We're a little over budget with groceries. Let's watch that closer this week." He said he didn't feel it would be healthy to discuss it less than we do, but the talks have been guilt-inducing, and he thought some time apart would give him a break from having to face the guilt. I asked if there was a way I could be less guilt-inducing when we discuss finances, and he said no. He actually said we probably need to talk about it more, and he just needs to bite the bullet and work harder on getting a better job to reduce his guilt. We made up and talked about whether we should still be going for a baby with him, feeling guilty and defensive lately, and decided we would continue to address the defensiveness issue, but go ahead with spicy sleep. The next day, his boss asked if he could go if he flew him home for 2 days in the middle of the month. He agreed without consulting me. I was kind of upset since we had just talked about making decisions about long trips together. Plus, this would still impact baby making. He apologized again, said he was feeling pressured to give his boss an answer right then and be a good employee. And he felt bad about making an impulsive judgment that he felt in hindsight was not the right decision. We decided that rather than cancel a second time, he should just go. He leaves in a couple of weeks. I was angry, but I got over it. Yesterday, I was going over our spending trends for 2013 to see if we needed to adjust budget categories for 2014, and there was a small thing that didn't quite add up regarding his credit card. He's been putting a lot of money towards paying it off every month, and I've been asking about every other month why his car expenses are so high.
Uh-oh. His baby is already his car?
I feel like an idiot. He's been saying things like, I needed a new battery, but the one I got didn't work and they wouldn't let me return it, so I had to get a second one. And my car mileage has been really low for a while. I'm not sure why. I'll look into it though. And other somewhat plausible sounding excuses. I feel like he's not actually spending the money on his car.
That last one is not a very plausible excuse.
Yeah.
Said the mileage on my car has been low recently.
What does that mean?
Are you saying your odometer's like the most reliable part on basically any car ever made?
I don't know what that means.
It's not working right. So what?
I just don't understand what he's implying there. Like, is he getting money? Is he paying
I
money
don't know.
to fix it?
That's what I'm saying. It's like, it's plausible sounding. It's like, well, it's plausible sounding because it sounds like maybe you don't know anything about that. Like a surgeon could tell me that something that sounds plausible about kidney surgery, and I wouldn't know because I'm not a kidney surgeon.
That's true. He's not. In reality, he's putting about $550 of personal spending, mostly fast food and other small impulse buys, on his car expenses credit card in addition to car expenses. He's paying only a fraction of the balance every month from the joint account, and that still is a lot of money compared to his actual car expenses. He's also carrying a balance each month. He's also taking money from his mom's account to pay down the balance, hundreds of dollars each month. Whew. He had the accounts linked many years ago for some reason, like she was making payments through his account for his tuition or something, and he's taking full advantage. He said he's been doing it for years and he doesn't think she knows. She has severe untreated ADHD and her entire life is a massive disorganized mess, so that's actually plausible. Oof. What about the dad? Does he not?
Dad is a rocket scientist engineer at the JPL laboratory.
I mean, I understand. Oh, wow.
The JP laboratory.
Yeah, I understand that if she has like untreated ADHD, like it probably is very hard for her to manage money and stuff. But my advice for her now would be that instead of, losing hundreds of dollars from your son every month, let's pay that a little bit of money to a financial advisor, someone to manage that money or something.
Nah, man, just keep raw dogging reality.
Because you're spending that money anyway. Might as well have someone else manage it.
She's too focused. She's making millions.
His parents aren't very well off financially, though they aren't exactly impoverished either. And I feel sick about how this must be impacting their ability to pay their mortgage, especially since we are living here for almost free. He printed off credit card statements for me at my request, but the website only has 13 months worth, so I don't know how much he took from her. But I'm estimating $10K plus $3K of overpayments from the joint account for fake car expenses. So we talked about it last night, and he gave me all sorts of excuses, including, a lot of places don't take debit cards, so I can't use the joint account. There were some other discrepancies too, like he got paper paychecks for a month recently. He had told me it was an HR error at work and deposited them to his personal account. Then forgot about it until I asked if he knew why he hadn't been paid that month. He told me he would transfer the money to the joint account, and he did, minus about $200. There's also a bank deposit of $1K to his personal account in August, and I have no idea where that could have come from. He says he can't remember. I asked for an apology, and he had trouble sounding sincere. He did say he doesn't want to face the problem. What do I do now? I'm going to sit down with him and his mom today so he can explain the situation. I do love him a lot. I want to stay with him. It's like he's living a double life. He's sweet and kind and a very good partner in most ways. I would never have guessed he would steal from his mom or from our joint account. Edit, to be perfectly clear, we were trying for a baby. Past tense. That ended yesterday when I discovered the situation. Edit again to those who are concerned about our financial ability to have a child. Before I discovered this problem, we had $55,000 in very liquid investments from when I was at my last job, and a goal to add at least a tiny bit to that number every month rather than taking away from it. Then we have that amount again in less liquid investments that are set for our retirement, so we wouldn't be screwing ourselves too badly if we had to withdraw some from the liquid investments. What are they? Okay. I just want, because what is she trying to say? Is she trying to say that, like,
Well, whatever a liquid investment is, it's not cash. And
it's not cash?
newsflash,
Exactly.
55
it's not
grand
cash.
is maybe 1 year of baby time.
That's what I'm saying. Okay.
Maybe you've got 1 year of baby time.
I'm like, she's like, we have very liquid investments, which doesn't, to me, and I could be wrong, sound like you have stuff in your bank account.
Right.
That doesn't sound like that to me.
So,
What?
Yep.
She's like, no, we're very liquid right now. We're very liquid.
Which, if you have to liquidate all of your investments to have the kid, also
Not good.
probably not good.
I also have the ability to scale up my hours and income easily if necessary. Plus, most of my current income goes towards investments and never reaches our monthly budget. This was dear husband's idea, so he is the bread maker. No, he's not.
Maker.
He's not the
They
bread
don't even
maker.
know the right term for
He's
it.
literally Opie's like, yeah, it was his idea to put our money into investments, so he's the bread maker. If I tell Dakota to put his money into stocks, I'm not his bread maker. I just had an idea.
She's my bread advisor.
Yeah, I'm like, you should put some yeast in that.
Okay.
That's not me
well,
making
no, that's
the
more of a
bread.
dough advisor.
That's
Maybe
true.
that's what you should know. You are the dough
Yeah,
advisor,
yeah, you're
and then
right.
I'm the bread maker.
You're right.
I make my bread with the dough she advised me on making.
And we live mostly off of his income. The low amount for monthly personal spending was husband's idea and is not strictly necessary, but it is wise if we want to spend less than we earn, not counting the parts of my income going directly into investments. I actually wanted to drop the spending allowance even further, but I didn't think that was realistic. If you want more details on savings versus investments versus spending, there's a comment below. Search 401k. Comment 1. I read this whole thing, and one thing that really jumps out is how you run your husband's life for him. You make the plans, you organize the data, you tell him whether or not he's allowed to travel. He agrees to your plans, which sort of gives the illusion that he is part of the decision-making process. In actuality, he is too crippled by his issues to run his own life. Even talking about the budget of vital activities stresses him out, so he's been needling you to discuss it less. I expect he's been telling you anything you want to hear during budget talks just to get the stressful conversation to end. Then behind your back, he does whatever he can get away with. Promises be danged. It is a very mother to naughty child type relationship. He is testing boundaries like a kid instead of being on your team like a husband. Putting aside the control dynamic and looking at the main issue, his behavior is appalling. He is a 30-year-old man who still lives with his parents, works at a job a teenager could do, and steals from his struggling mother and hardworking wife. Your respect for him must have totally collapsed. How could you bring him around your family and be proud to say, "This is my husband"? How could a child of yours be proud of that? "This is my dad." This person is worthy of your contempt, and contempt is the death knell of a marriage. Whoa. According to research, it is the #1 predictor of divorce. You can throw a few more years down the tubes trying to reform him, but it's not going to work. Change comes from within, and I don't sense anything impressive within this loser. Good call on having him talk with his mother this evening. If he doesn't fake a heart attack or something to get out of it, you could end up being framed to take the blame for all the theft. Opie says, I'm aware this is not normal for someone with ADHD. I do think the disorder hampers his follow-through and impulse control, but it certainly doesn't explain the lying and stealing, especially over the course of multiple years. Reply, he's a grown man. If he hasn't learned impulse control at this point, he never will. My husband has to take meds for his ADHD because otherwise the workday is very difficult for him, but he learned to control his impulses a long effing time ago. My 8-year-old with ADHD, however, has impulse issues because she's a child. And there is an update, folks. But do you have any thoughts before we get into that?
I think it's weird that clearly, like, these are both people with ADHD, and it seems like his treatment regimen is just like not really effective for him.
That's
And
what I
and
was thinking.
everyone's completely ignoring that.
I was thinking that too, because I'm
Like-
like, if he is medicated and is still acting this way, like still has impulse, like severe impulse issues and is this I'm obviously not a doctor, but is this the right, path for him?
I would say not.
If it's
right?
not effective at all?
You're like, doctor, I'm taking this medicine and my problems are the same. Well, okay.
I'm like,
Take more medicine, loser. Like,
I'm wondering, because it said like he's at the max or something. So
look, like,
I don't know. Maybe he can't legally be given any more.
yeah, it's weird. It's like, yeah, my 8-year-old child also has it, or like, and they're also, but they're a child, and it's like, but like, if you still have it as an adult, it can still affect you the same ways. So I don't know. This is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't even be a question of like, how do I fix him, or like, where do I? It's like, as soon as you're like, oh, you're just like stealing
You're
from me and your
stealing from
mom,
me
and
and your
you're
mom.
30 years old. Bye.
Bye.
This is like, I'm trying to think timeline, because this is like 2013, 14.
It is.
Yeah. And so this guy was probably like stealing money from his mom to go to the mall. And he's like never grown out of that.
Oh, man.
Sneaking money from his mom to go,
To go to the mall.
buy pretzels.
Anyway, there's an update. Told his mom she basically didn't care and said her own finances are a mess and she has a spending problem, so she understands. She specifically said she didn't want to know how much he took and she didn't want him to pay her back. I had to scrape my jaw off the floor. She's Mormon and she hasn't been paying tithing, which is a big deal to Mormons, and apparently she's lying to the church about it. I thought maybe she's struggling to tithe because her son is taking her money. But she showed me her checking account, and the problems are far larger than what he's taking. So it seemed to be a reaction of, we all have money issues. We all lie about them. Who cares? And by the way, please don't tell me details. This was so not okay with me. My therapist feels pretty strongly that it's a combination of a family culture of if we don't talk or if we lie about financial problems, they go away. And an ethnic culture, Hispanic, of family money is for anybody in the family, rather than a husband being a sociopath who steals from his mother. To say it another way, this is a systemic problem, but rather than being a systemic problem with husband being immoral across multiple areas of his life, it is a systemic problem with husband's whole family being financially irresponsible and dishonest about it, and to him that is normal behavior, even though he wouldn't be dishonest in other areas. He will be seeing a therapist for individual therapy, and we will be seeing a marriage counselor. He's meeting with our pastor every other day to talk about taking responsibility for the situation and truly separating from his parents financially and otherwise. I suspect that sooner or later there will be a strong recommendation that husband gets a second job and moves us out of his parents' basement. The pastor thinks husband needs to be the one making the money we live on, which husband agrees with. They are also discussing the serious moral implications of taking things, including more or less shared family things, without telling people, and especially with blatantly lying to his wife about it, with husband needing to be able to admit the seriousness of those behaviors. Husband will also be meeting with the church-run men's accountability group of about 5 guys once weekly, where they talk about being good guys, not cheating on their wives, being honest, etc. They have a specific list of things they discuss, and they keep each other on track because they all have ADHD. This is through a different church where all the men are in this groups, and he will likely be placed in a group with at least 2 really good role models of personal and moral responsibility. By the way, you can have good role models if you watch full episodes of stories just like this. To be clear, the role models aren't the people in the story, they're us.
They're us.
If you go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime, there is a little bit left to the story, but do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think like if you're trying to convince yourself something's a good idea, but there's part of you that just feels like it's not. Like
Trust.
you gotta
Trust that
feel,
part.
you gotta feel that. Like it's always stuff outside of just like ourselves that will prompt us to like, oh, I need to get married to this guy because well, we're both Mormon and we both like each other and it's like we both want to have a kid, but it's like, okay, neither of you are financially ready or like I don't know.
Well, they're already married.
Philosophically
Yeah.
ready to like have a kid. Oh, did I say get married? I meant to say.
Actually-
I meant to say have a kid. If they're already because they're already
Okay,
married.
yeah. I actually
But-
don't know anymore if you said that.
Regardless,
Yeah.
I think all of these people seem to be making decisions not based on like where am I right now. They're like, oh well, I'll have 5 promotions in a year, so
yeah, it's like
we
where
can have that
they're
kid.
thinking, oh, where should I be? Where do I want to be right now? And then they're manifesting so hard that they think they're there.
Yeah, they're
It's like if I was like, I really want to be in Paris right now, and I'm like, wow, guys, look at the Eiffel Tower. Oh, that was German.
that was
Damn it.
definitely a little
Dang
German,
it,
but it's
it was
okay.
German.
German people can go to France.
Look at.
That hasn't been controversial for a long time. The Germans going to France. It's been a long.
But there was a little bit.
That's all right now. That's safe
There's a
territory.
little bit left to this story. I'm working with my therapist on making sure I am responding kindly and not being controlling while keeping my own financial future insulated from these problems. She thinks there is a good chance that our relationship will survive this and that his behavior will change significantly, but he has to want to change more than he wants to stay the same. So we need to give it some time to see if he ends up choosing to do that. I'm also working with 2 women at the church on being more compassionate in the way I speak to my husband and less controlling of his decisions. They agree that I didn't cause the problem, especially since it started before we met. But the general agreement is that if I can be more supportive and encouraging, he'll feel more optimistic and therefore possibly more willing to work on change. Whether or not he changes, I will have become a better person. Crazy! This is
Well,
crazy!
Just fundamentally not the place you analyze your relationship.
This
from.
is, she's like, I just have to be nicer and all of our problems will go away.
Yeah.
No. My father's girlfriend tried to order me to bed. I'm already an adult.
Sounds like you need to be knocked out.
For context, I, 21 female, have 4 siblings, 26 male, 23 male, 12 female, and 10 male. Our uncle has been our legal guardian since our mom passed and my dad has been out of our lives. My 23-year-old brother and I are home for the summer from college. My oldest brother lives in the city. Since we've come home, my uncle's been away on a work trip, so it's just been me and my siblings around the house. By the way, this comes from Charlie Zusk. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, further context, my dad used to be a problem drinker and was basically estranged for half of my life. Very limited contact, and growing up, it's always been my siblings and I taking care of each other. For the past year or so, my dad has been wanting to reconnect with us, mainly my younger siblings. He's been getting better in his habits. He was clean for 3 years and managed to keep his act together. Because of this, we've allowed a couple of visits from time to time. 4 months ago, he started seeing someone new, quite a bit younger than him, in her 30s, and she seems to have this strange obsession with playing mom.
Oh, really?
Which is like a weird dynamic because she's in her 30s and OP's like 24. She visits way more frequently than he does and seems to be under the impression that she's our new stepmom. I think it's kind of weird, but we just let her do her thing since she's not harming anyone. She does have this patronizing way of addressing us. It's better with my oldest brothers, but with me, it's getting kind of ridiculous. Again, I kind of just ignore it and go about my own business. A few weeks before my brother and I came home, she was helping my uncle pick up our younger siblings from school and driving them home. Because of that, she was given a key to the house.
Okay.
Since then, she's around all the time and just playing parent to my younger siblings, but not really doing much because my older brothers and I take care of the responsibilities. In short, the situation started when we had her and my dad over for dinner. My brothers cooked a great meal, and it was all going good until my dad ended up making a very insensitive and inappropriate joke during dinner, and she cooperated that joke by making a really ugly insinuation about our late mother.
Okay, you can't just say
Yikes.
it was an ugly joke.
Yeah, what was it?
Yeah.
Specify.
I'm going to need to know what was said.
Not gonna get into that. Why not?
OP! Then don't share it.
We saw them out, and that was that. We put the kids to bed and kind of talked about what happened and informed our uncle about the situation. We were all unsure of what to do. The next afternoon, both my brothers were busy with work, and I picked up the kids from school and got home to my dad's girlfriend in our kitchen. This was the first time she'd let herself in when nobody was home,
Ooh.
and it caught me kind of off guard. She had basically come to apologize on my dad's behalf. She said that he felt so ashamed he couldn't bear coming here. I mean, I sent the kids to their rooms and explained the situation to her. I also communicated to her that I found her comment to be extremely inappropriate and in poor taste. She started laughing it off, but I was clear with her that we wouldn't tolerate anything like that again. And then she said something like, "Oh, it's so cute that you're trying to be their mom / their adult." I kind of just blinked at her. The remainder of that conversation, she had the same attitude, just not taking me seriously and treating me patronizingly. Naturally, I got fed up and got started on dinner. I don't know where she went for the next while. I think she went into the kids' room to help them with homework. But she stuck around for the rest of the night. Out of the kindness of my heart, I cooked extra food for her, even though she didn't ask for permission to stay.
Ooh.
And lo and behold, she stayed for dinner. Later on in the night, she was fawning over the kids again, and around 10, in her stepmom manner, she was like, "Okay, my dears, it's time for bed." My younger siblings were in the living room watching TV. They're usually pretty disciplined at going to bed themselves. So that kind of, adds to that. At this, they looked over to me, gave me the look like, "What is this lady doing?" And I just shrugged, and they went off to their rooms because it was close to their usual bedtime anyway. Which, yeah, I think that's also like maybe their bedtime's 10:30, and she's
Okay.
like, "Okay, you're going to bed at 10 now," which weird.
Okay.
Now, wait for this. I'm in the kitchen cleaning up. Dad's girlfriend is on her phone at the island. She looks at me and says, "You too, hon?" No. Opie's 24.
Imagine you're about to be 24. Imagine someone telling you that.
I'd be
Okay,
like,
Sophia, time to go to
dude, my
bed.
parents would do that. My parents still do that. They're like, "Okay, off to bed." I'm like, I'm an adult. It crosses my mind that she could have been joking, but I devise after a moment that this was not a joke and she was in fact sending me to bed. So I naturally say, "What?" She says, "It's getting late, time for bed," and kind of tuts at me.
What's a tut?
Like,
It's
Time
teething.
for bed. You know?
Tut?
Yeah, it's like a noise. To remind you guys, Opie's 21 years old. Sorry, not 24. I think one of the brothers. I go to college and am working almost full time in the summer. I've been taking care of my family since I was 12. This woman has been dating my estranged father for barely half a year. So I gave her the benefit of the doubt that she clearly has some mental issues and is a little crazy. I tell her,
But you know what that means, though.
what? Oh.
We know why the dad has her around.
Yeah. I tell her I think it's time that she went home. She is insistent that I go on to bed, still acting like she's my mom. This gets me a little ticked off. I explained to her that I feel disrespected being talked to like that, and that I'm an adult. And as an extension to our previous conversation, I need her to take me seriously because I don't joke around about my family or my siblings, and she's on thin ice. She continues to laugh me off and goes on in this super patronizing tone. Again, she uses the phrase, "It's so cute when teenagers try to act like adults." Throws in some stuff about me having a hissy fit and being rebellious. At this point, I'm just so fed up by everything, I simply say, "You have 5 minutes to get your things and leave this house."
Oh.
Opie is not taking no for an answer.
There we go. She ain't taking none of that crap.
She's not taking your nonsense.
Here's a great question.
What?
Where's the dad?
Yeah, I don't know. He seems kind of like not really involved. Well, it seems like he wasn't involved. Yeah, we know that he wasn't involved kind of throughout their life, and it doesn't seem like he's an active participant now. In response, she scoffs and gets up and walks off to the bathroom. And on the way, I heard her say something along the lines of, "No wonder Anatole, Dad, says you're a frigid little priss." When she's in the bathroom, I go over to her handbag and her keys on the couch. She has a gigantic key ring and a ton of keys, so knowing she won't notice, I removed our house key from the ring.
Oopsie.
Gotta take things into your own hands. Then I go back to my room. I hear her leaving maybe 20 minutes later. The next day, I get a bunch of texts from her panicking about the key. I told her I took it. She said some stuff, called me a brat, saying she was going to tell my uncle and brothers, and I was being childish. I told her I was at work, and if she wanted to talk, she could call me at 4. Otherwise, she could go bother my brothers about it. But they were at work too, so good luck with that. She went off again with the stop pretending to be an adult thing and said that my younger siblings were like her kids and she needed to take care of them and this was unsafe. The last text I sent her was, "This is the last I'll say this. You've been disrespectful of me and my brothers since we met and dismissed my attempts to communicate with you. I'm no longer investing energy into enduring your behavior. I'm going to be honest, there is very little chance that you're going to get that key back. This is not helping those chances. Like I said, 4 p.m. you can call." Nice, OP.
That's
Mic
like
drop.
check-in times for hotels too.
Yeah, 4 p.m.
Yeah.
Classic. Yeah, I was just like 3 p.m. and then 11 p.m. check-in or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
She yapped some more, then blew up my brother's phones and texted my uncle as well. I'm writing this as this is occurring. I told my brothers a bit about what happened when she came over, but they don't know the full story. My uncle's also in the dark about this, but I'll tell them what happened if I need to.
You better tell them quickly before someone
Yeah.
gets the story and.
Nah, she's gonna change everything up. She's gonna say, "OP was so rude. I was just trying to help."
She yelled at me and called me.
Just like that. Look, I don't doubt that in her heart she does truly care for my younger siblings. I don't think she's a bad person or anything. Plus, my uncle trusted her enough to give her entry into his house. Gotta have a conversation with the uncle. You
Yeah.
gotta be like, "Uncle, why'd you do that? Why didn't you talk to us about that?"
Yeah. Also, she's a little crazy, man.
She's a little crazy. She just really pissed me off. Her whole stepmom act is also really facetious to me. I'd have no problem letting her help out around the house if she was respectful and communicated that's what she wanted. Anyways, am I the a-hole? And there is a gentle update. Interesting. That's what it says.
Non-aggressive, guys.
A gentle
Don't worry.
update, guys, is on the way. But what say you, Riley?
People, I usually see a lot of younger people or people that just have their family and not a lot of friends around. So whenever you're like 21, you're now like understanding dynamics as
Yeah.
an adult. So it's hard to understand that you stand up for yourself and the mom's kind of like, oh, and no one else really knows what's happening to understand if you're the a-hole or not. So it's good to like, bounce this off of Reddit. So I see where she's coming from on that aspect. You're standing up for your brothers because, one, like you said, she's only been around for 6 months.
Yeah.
Who knows what's under those layers? Because after 3 months, you actually kind of see a little glimpse of who a person actually is.
I mean, yeah. You know that she's not nice.
So you're not the a-hole. I would keep standing up for your brothers. Do you have any next steps about what you would do?
I would talk to the uncle. I would talk to the dad.
Okay.
I would say I feel very disrespected. I feel like she's inserting herself in a way that I don't feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
And just like really point out that she's, stepping across lines here. And that's not okay.
It really isn't.
But
Yeah.
you know what is okay? A gentle update.
First, an okay storytime history.
Yeah. I had put this in the comments, but for those who didn't see, after Dad's girlfriend's freak out, my uncle called me and said, "What's this she says about you stole her keys and punted her out?"
Oh, boy.
And he was already laughing as he said this because he knows and trusts me and he knows I'm a level-headed person. And I told him, yeah, she tried to put me to bed and called me a priss. And that cracked him up. By the way, you can crack yourself up by listening to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. But there is a little bit left to this story. But do you have any final thoughts?
The biggest question to ask everyone is, what age do you not have a bedtime anymore? Mine was when I went to college, so like 18.
Yeah, same.
Yep.
Anyway, let's finish the story off. When I told my brothers too, they were like, wow, I'm surprised you didn't knock her out. They both knew she could be a little weird, but never had she been like that. I think it was because it was the first time she and I were alone. She is not coming back to the house, not picking up the kids again, only sees the kids when they hang out with Dad and oldest brother is around. My uncle has full custody of kids. They are safe. There is more nutty stuff going on with her, though. We'll have another update prepared soon. It's going to be very interesting. And that is the end of that.
I hope the dad finds someone around his age and gets rid of this person.
Yeah.
Ladder
She
first.
Yeah. First gets rid of and then find someone his age.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah, a little bit more elderly mother figurely. Not
Yeah.
don't
And then she'll come into OP's room and she'll be like, "You gotta go to sleep now." And OP's like, "You're not
like don't tell me to go to bed if you've
Yeah.
never baked me cookies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. See, I can tell everyone in the house to go to bed because I've made them all cookies.
Yeah, that is true.
Stepmom probably hasn't done that.
My father refused to walk me down the aisle because of his new daughter.
Well, you need a new father.
Boom. I, 30 female, am getting married in about a month to my best friend, 35 male. I did not grow up knowing my dad, 55 male, very well, as him and my mom divorced when I was an infant. He remarried and had several kids with his new wife, who hates my very existence.
Thanks.
By the way, this comes from user Throwaway Dad Wedding 400, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, there was a lot of hurtful things done when I was growing up. It's not like not being allowed in her house when I visited, that led me to be estranged from my father. He never really made much of an effort, but after I was 18, I completely cut him off for my mental health and stopped answering the few calls he attempted to make. He tried to get into contact every once in a while over the years, but I honestly just ignored him. I was hurt and angry, and about a year ago, I got back into contact with some extended family on his side and have been forging a good bond with all of them. I invited them all to our wedding, and they have been amazing. Eventually, I started speaking with my dad as well back around Christmas, and it was tense at first, but I decided to just give him a chance. We have slowly been getting a semblance of a relationship back, and I saw him in person with my fiance a couple months ago. His wife is not pleased at all, and apparently their kids, who are my half-siblings, all adults, are also upset about it. I think there were threats of divorce, but my dad still decided to go to my wedding. After a ton of thought, I asked my dad if he wanted to walk me down the aisle, as I have been hopeful for a better relationship, but he turned me down.
Wow. I just, wow. Like you ask him and then, wow.
That'd be like immediately the biggest red flag of all time
Yeah.
if I had a kid with someone else and then had like a new partner and we're married and they're like, by the way, hate him.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You goofy. What do you think I'm going to do? Stay with someone who hates my daughter?
Yeah, no.
I wouldn't be as upset if he gave a generic excuse, but he told me his wife and his other daughter requested he
Yikes.
does not walk me down the aisle, as that is reserved for his other daughter and not me. I am super hurt and not even sure what to reply to that with. He offered to stay at the he offered to stand at the front and give me away instead, but that isn't what I want. My fiance thinks we should uninvite him and move on, but I'm not sure if that is the best course of action. He's coming from out of state with the rest of his family, so he already bought a plane ticket and hotel room. Part of me thinks to just politely turn him down, have him as a regular guest, and then just stop talking to him again after the wedding. My mom isn't coming to my wedding because she lives really far away, so I don't really have any other immediate family coming. I'm not sure what the best course of action is, and the wedding is getting super close, so I have to make a decision soon.
I'm sorry, your mom's not coming to the wedding because she lives really far away?
Like, does she live in the South Pole?
Like, unless she does not have the funds to do it, which, you know, that's possible. But, like, I feel like most parents would move heaven and earth to be at their child's wedding.
She's taken ice core samples in the South Pole. Edit. Wow, this post is blown up. Thank you all so much for the advice and comforting words. To answer some questions I'm seeing, no, his wife and my half-siblings are not attending the wedding. I invited them, but they won't even meet me, let alone go to the wedding. He has 2 sons and a daughter with his new wife, all in their 20s. I'm not sure if my dad cheated on my mom with my stepmom. My mom, through all her faults, never actually said a bad word about him. He did marry my stepmom by the time I was 2 years old, though, so there wasn't much time in between marriages. They are also very Christian, in the worst way, as they don't really follow what they claim to believe. My mom cannot fly as she has panic attacks.
Ah, there it is.
She also is actually a worse parent than my dad in a lot of ways.
That makes
believe it or
sense.
not.
Yeah. She's like, well, I can't fly to come see your wedding, so sorry. And she's like probably in, I don't know, Arizona.
Yeah. I have no other male relatives to walk me down the aisle. I also never wanted him to give me away, as I think that is dumb. I just wanted my dad to act like my dad for one moment. My fiance and I decided to walk down the aisle together, as one of you suggested, so that part is settled.
Wait, that's so cute.
Yeah, like,
Do a
makes
little
sense.
like doodly-doo
They should have
dance
done
down
that the whole
aisle.
time.
Yeah, that's nice.
I'll update everyone once I decide what to do and if there's any response. And there's an update.
Yep, day.
What do you think, Sophia?
I think that's a great idea. It seems like your parents aren't very cool. I think that your dad is strange for putting his new family over, the desires and needs of his current daughter. Like, just because he has a new family doesn't mean that you should be replaced or forgotten. And then your mom, I don't know what's going on with your mom. Mom's something
it
weird
sounds like
there.
mom needs her own post.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. I would
Uh,
say, though, even if you don't want your dad to, be there at the end to give you away or something, I think you can have that conversation with him, if you haven't already, of saying, like, why it hurt you so much that he's refusing to, like, walk you down the aisle.
Yeah.
And say, like, hey, I get that your new wife and your new daughter don't like this, but, I am your daughter.
Hello, everyone. Just wanted to start by saying thank you so much for your kind words and advice on my original post. It made me feel so much better. We had an amazing wedding and honeymoon. Everything went really well. My husband wants to thank everyone who said some form of listen to your fiancé. Ha 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 ha. I bet he wants to thank everyone for that. I'll start with what happened right after my last post. I did uninvite my dad. I uninvited him from my wedding. The whole interaction was too hurtful to let go of. Before telling him I was uninviting him, I spoke with my aunt / his sister, Sandy, in her 50s, who was furious at her brother for what he said to me. She has been a great support of me and my husband, which has been amazing, honestly. After I sent my dad an email detailing how hurtful he had been and that he was uninvited, Sandy called him and yelled at him for being a Bootius Maximus. He replied to my email with a bunch of nonsense deflection about how he has to make sure both sides are happy, but apparently told Sandy and not me that he was sorry and that it was a miscommunication. He claims to Sandy that he was only trying to negotiate with me and that he would have walked me down the aisle if that was what I really wanted. I highly doubt that. My mother-in-law, who is extremely conservative and religious, actually said my dad needed to grow some huevos, which shocked literally everyone. I replied to him that I stood firm in my decision to uninvite and to not contact me again until after the wedding, but that if he did contact me at all, it better be with the understanding that he needs to be present in my life the same way he is for his other kids.
Yeah.
Otherwise, don't reach out again. Around this time, right before the wedding, I called my mom and asked her about what really happened with her and my dad when I was a baby, because she never talked about it with me growing up. Unlike my dad and stepmom, my mom never once said anything bad about my dad to me. She was always neutral and positive about him, which I have since thanked her for, as it let me come to my own conclusions about what a butthole he is. My mom and I had a good cry about everything, and she let me know how harmful and awful my dad was to her when I was a baby after they split up. I also found out that he married his new wife when I was less than a year old, which is insane considering my parents were still 100% together the day I was born. Sandy swears up and down that she introduced my dad and stepmom to each other after my parents split, as they, stepmom and Sandy, were classmates in college. I don't really care either way at this point. It's just interesting to see how no one has a clear idea of what happened. My thought is that they were cheating and then used Sandy to introduce them to cover up their behavior. Keep in mind, they are all very Christian, quote unquote, even though they clearly don't follow any of their teachings. I didn't hear anything from my dad during the wedding, and Sandy and all her family still came. We all had a blast, and everyone was so happy for us. The pictures turned out great, and there isn't anyone in them that I wish I could Photoshop out, so I definitely knew uninviting my dad ended up being the best decision I could make. I talked to Sandy about my dad over the holidays, and she said that him and his wife and kids were refusing to go to any family dinners or parties because they're upset that everyone else talks to me.
What are they talking about? What? They're upset that your family talks to you?
Who do they think they are, like, on a
They're
real
like,
level?
I don't want anyone to talk to my husband's previous child, even though they're related to her.
I have been in regular contact with Sandy, my uncle Jerry, and all of their kids, which makes my stepmom feel betrayed. Sandy is pissed at her because they used to be friends, but never understood what her issue was with me. I found out my stepmom treated me like crap the second she had her first kid when I was still a toddler, which probably doesn't surprise anyone. I didn't hear from my dad all through December, but finally in late January, I got a random email from him. He sent a long email blaming me for him not being in my life, telling me his wife and kids are more important, but that we need to still be in each other's lives. Just pick a lane, dude. He's trying to, like, not be the bad guy in any sense.
No, he's trying to blame it on everyone else. He's like, no, I never said that I wouldn't walk her down the aisle. If she really wanted me to, I would. Oh, why aren't you in my life? You're not making an effort. I want to be in your life. It's like you have actively been pushing your daughter away and letting your wife and stepdaughter push, or new daughter push her away.
Yeah, I mean, I hate that this is hurting OP. But I do love that it seems like this guy who was kind of a scumbag while with OP's mom is now with someone who is just like a completely negative force in his life that he cannot escape.
Yeah.
Love that for him. Hate that it's hurting OP, though, that he's such a spineless little jellyfish. It was the most BS email he had sent me so far and completely disregarded my wishes back in October when I told him to not contact me unless he was going to treat me like his actual child. I ended up not responding and just blocked his email. I also told Sandy to not share any of the pictures or videos from the wedding with him and to not talk about me with him. I think this will be the end of the relationship with him since he clearly is incapable of being a parent to me. And by the way, we can parent you all day long. And all you need to do is listen to the full episodes with stories just like this. We will be your mommy and daddy. Just go to Spotify or iHeartRadio or Apple Podcasts and type in OK Storytime. Really, anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can listen to over 2,000 episodes.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit left to this story. Before we do it, I think you have made the right decision with your dad in placing that boundary, but also saying, like, if you show up for me as a dad and start treating me like a daughter, maybe this will change. But right now, no.
Yeah, that was a great, like, hard line to set that he could not follow.
Yeah.
But you're like, yeah, just don't even bother talking to me if you're not going to just be my dad.
Yeah.
And then he, of course, talks to you by being like, well, I'm not really going to be your dad, but I'll be like your dad friend. But, like, you're worthless to me.
Jax.
Just want to let you know, if it came between you and my other kids, I would literally hurl you into the depths of outer space.
Yikes.
So, not really a sustainable relationship there. I feel a lot more at peace with everything that happened, and I am completely okay with how it all turned out. One commenter on my original post said something along the lines of not knowing if my dad would have been a bad parent since he wasn't around, and that really has stuck with me. Thinking about it now, he probably would have been even worse had he actually been in my life. Unfortunately, both of my parents are emotionally stunted, but I made good use of the life that was handed to me and will hopefully break the cycle with my own kids one day. And I didn't mention in my last post that my husband and I are going to be moving to the same state as my family in the next year. I was worried at first being closer to my dad, but honestly, he and his bitter wife and kids can do whatever they want. I'm just going to live my life how I want to. We were planning on moving to this state before I ever got back in contact with my family, so we'll continue to do what is best for us. Anyway, thank you again, kind Redditors. You really helped me not feel sad or upset for my wedding day. And that's the end of that story.
There you go.
Mission accomplished.
Mission impossible.
Dude, Reddit saved her wedding.
Reddit, you did a good job again, surprisingly. My father disowned my sister years ago, so I did the same to him.
That's very fair.
Hi everyone, I apologize, but this will be a long post as there is a lot of background to get through. Getting right into it, I am 18 female and my sister is 22 female. We both live with our mom, 50 female, and I'm going into my senior year of high school this year. My sister has a full-time job and is currently looking for apartments with her longtime girlfriend. By the way, this comes from Fantastic Deer 202, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. My parents divorced while I was very young, think 5 or younger, and it was a very messy divorce. I only have my mom's side of the story, which is basically my dad is a chronic liar and manipulator, so she punted him out of the house despite being a stay-at-home mom at the time and having no income stream, but is now stable despite being low income. For the next 5 years, my mom and dad had 50-50 custody. Now, to clear some things up, my sister and I are very much opposites. I am very good at school and am in advanced classes, while she has been diagnosed with several different mental disorders, including autism and ADHD, that make school incredibly hard for her. This was especially prevalent starting in elementary school. She tried all different kinds of therapies, but nothing worked, and my mom finally said that my sister needed to go on meds. My father disagreed with this and maintained that my sister was faking her disorders for attention. She wasn't, and refused to let her go on medicine she desperately needed. Cue family court. My mom took my dad to court, and the battle lasted 4 years before my mom eventually won, and my sister got the help she needed. I was pretty young when all this was happening, 6 to 10-ish years old, so I really don't remember that much other than extreme tension at my dad's house. When I was 7, my dad married my stepmom. I won't go into detail about her, but she really hated my sister. But I eventually came to view her as a mother figure. Now, when my sister finally went on meds when she was 14 and I was 10, my dad completely threw her out of his house and disowned her. She started staying at my mom's house full time, and he only paid child support when he was ordered to by the court. He completely ignored birthdays, Christmas, etc. I continued 50-50 custody. However, now that my sister was out of the house, my mom started acting badly towards me, and my dad didn't really do anything about it. As I got older, I went to his house less and less until I only saw him every other weekend. Eventually, I stopped seeing him altogether and just texted back and forth. Even when I never saw my dad and only texted him, he sent me birthday and Christmas presents and ignored my sister. During this time, my sister really resented me. And I can't say that I blame her. I created excuses for myself as to why it was okay that our dad had abandoned her and was still in contact with me. Finally, when I was 15, I realized how messed up it was that my dad loved me and not her. And I stopped texting him and went no contact with him basically overnight. He still texted me from time to time, but I never responded. Even after I went no contact with me, he still sent me $50 for my birthday and Christmas, and my sister got nothing. At this point, my sister and I started to repair our relationship as she realized this was my way of sticking up for her. And I even told her when our dad passes away, if he leaves me anything, I'll split it with her. As a side note, my dad is fairly wealthy, so this is a possibility. I'm now jumping to present day. A couple weeks ago, I got a text from him that went something like, I just wanted to say that I'm unbelievably proud of you. If you need anything for school, just let me know. I told my sister about the text and said that I considered texting him back and asking if he was proud of her. At her behest, I did. And the conversation went like this. Are you unbelievably proud of sister? Dad, I'm proud of both of you. Me, do you want to know what she's been up to? Dad, I really don't have any clues, so I'm all ears if you want to share. I can't tell if he's just putting on this act for OP.
I can't tell. I mean, again, from the beginning, the mother said that he's a pathological liar. Not pathological liar, but he's a liar.
My sister actually typed this really long text to him from my point of view, basically outlining how good she's doing, including her high-stress job, the fact that she bought a car with her own money, and her relationship. Dad, that all sounds to me like reasons I should be more proud of her. Thank you for telling me about it. Here's the thing. About a week after this conversation, my sister's 22nd birthday came. She actually got a card from him saying that he was proud of her, and he gave her his phone number, saying to ask him if she needed anything. He hasn't texted me since. My sister has made no move to contact him, as she is still really mad at him for favoring me throughout our childhood. I was talking about all this with my friend and said that I think my dad finally understands that if he wants to have any relationship with me, he has to have a relationship with her. My mom wants me and my dad to get along, so he'll help pay for college, and told me that I should ask him to buy me a car, which I doubt he would do. I'm feeling really lost and unsure what to do from here and need advice. I don't know if I want my dad in my life, and my sister definitely doesn't want him in hers, choice. If it comes down to it, I will always choose her over him, but I'm really not sure what to do right now. Any advice you can give me would be greatly appreciated. Thanks for reading. And there is an update. I think my first thoughts here, like, I don't want to credit anything that Oki's sister went through.
100% no.
But I would want to get a little bit more information about like what happened on like in the dad's eyes, you know? Update though. My dad texted me, and since I got a couple of comments telling me to get his side of the story, I texted back. Conversation went like this. How are you doing? Me. I finally finished college tours. University and other university are my top choices. I picked what I want my first tattoo to be. I've also finished all my summer assignments. Can I ask you some questions? Dad. That's awesome. Sure. Me. Why did you fight so hard against sister getting the medicine she needed? And why did you let me go on meds without a fight? Context: a few years after my sister got on meds, I became depressed and also needed meds. My dad didn't fight this. I'm still on them to this day. Dad, at the time, your mom and I were seeing a therapist to try to co-parent. He was very highly regarded. He had talked to Anna quite a bit and was pretty firm that he did not think she needed medication. I was following his recommendation that I was given. I hope that makes sense. Context: this is a lie. Experts recommended that my sister did go on meds, and she was even begging for them because she knew that she needed help. My dad really only argued in court that she was faking it. Me, but she wasn't okay. Mom and her teachers and everyone could see that therapy wasn't working, and for 4 years? That's a long time not to get a second opinion. I didn't even know what was going on, and I could see she needed some help. Dad, he was actually the third therapist we had seen during that 4-year period. I was trying to do what the people who were experts were telling me. Me, if that's true, then why, when she finally got on meds, was she so much better? Does it even occur to you that you were wrong and put your child through heck for no reason? Dad, I'm very clear that I made a lot of mistakes in that period. I was trying to listen to what mental health professionals were telling me. I wasn't qualified to make that kind of determination, and they were. Me, even if I believe that, why did you punt her out of the house? Why was I allowed to stay? You didn't even get her Christmas or birthday gifts. You made it abundantly clear that I was your favorite. Dad says, I didn't punt her out. I said one day that maybe she should go back to your mom's early, and she never came back. I have sent Christmas presents and birthday cards every year since, including this year. Well, that's, unless he's lying about that, that's interesting. She never cashed any of the checks and never reached out. I assume that she meant she didn't want to talk to me. Context: this is another lie. You never sent cards or presents. Before you say that my mom could have taken them, doesn't make sense that she would take them before now and not the card this year. The card this year didn't have a check or any presents with it. Me, that's not the way she tells it, and that's not the way mom tells it, and that's not the way I remember it. Context: I was in the house when my father threw my sister out. For years, I couldn't remember any part of that day. 2 years ago, I finally remembered something, but it's blurry, and I don't know if the memory is real or something my brain made up. It seems plausible, but I don't want to assume anything. Either way, my sister remembers that day very clearly and has no reason to lie. She was definitely forced out. Dad, well, that's how I remember it. I'm sorry if it doesn't match your recollection. I have all the receipts for the gifts and checks, so I'm certain they happened. Me, look, for better or worse, you're my dad, but I will always choose sister first. No matter what happened, I can't discount my own lived experience any more than I can discount hers. That being said, I might be willing to try family therapy with you if you're willing. Dad, sure, I'm completely open to that. Me, okay, let me think about it and get back to you in a few days. Now, as much as I would love to have an actual dad, I am only going to therapy with him if it's okay with my sister. I told her about this conversation from the very beginning, but she didn't want to know what he had to say. I'm still a little wary given that I know he lied to me at least twice during this conversation. But I can't, in good conscience, take his money for college without at least trying to make amends. Thank you to everyone who read this far. I know my family drama isn't easy. Advice would still be very much appreciated, and there is an update. Firstly, I want to clarify a couple of things. My dad is still paying my mom's child support for me. Where I live, the parents must pay child support until the child graduates high school, and I'm currently in my senior year of high school. My dad paid child support for my sister when he was ordered to by the court until she graduated as well. I saw a couple of comments on my previous post asking about my stepmom, so here's some more info. My dad and her got married when I was 7. For the first couple of years, she acted pretty badly towards my sister, but I came to view her as a mother figure. After my sister left, she directed that bad behavior towards me, pressuring me to be perfect and just generally making me feel unwelcome. My dad and stepmom have 2 children together. a boy and girl. Now they would be about 10 and 9. I often felt second class to my half brother and sister, and often felt like I had to be the perfect big sister to them, even though I was only 7 or 8 when they were born. The two of them are incredibly spoiled. They get whatever they want. I've never seen either one of them eat a vegetable. Yikes. They both got Minecraft accounts and their own personal iPads when they were 3? What are they doing with a Minecraft account at 3?
Too young.
And both got a Nintendo Switch for Christmas a couple years ago, just before I left. They also both have a desktop computer. They eat a ton of fast food, and while I was there, they got McDonald's breakfast almost every Saturday, which would normally be fine, but they eat out like every other day. I remember once we had chicken nuggets twice in one day, once from a fast food place and once frozen and heated up in the oven. They both go to a fancy private school. I could be wrong, but I think the tuition is $20,000 a semester. Take that with a grain of salt because I'm not exactly sure what it costs, but it's definitely a lot of money. My sister and I have been in public school our whole lives, albeit a good one, which allows me to take 5 AP classes that I really enjoy. Now, for the actual update, I had a really interesting conversation with my mom the other night where I showed her my dad's text. She didn't tell me anything I didn't already know, just made it very clear that my sister was punted out of my dad's house, but I'm not sure how much I can trust her word. She then went on this long rant about the first time my dad lied to her while they were dating, where he lied about an injury and my grandmother had to correct her. My mom detailed how all these small and big lies really got to her to the point where she asked for a divorce and talked about a cycle where she would ask him to stop lying. He would for a time and then he would start again. I've actually done research on this harmful cycle and it is legit and honestly very scary. Something interesting though, she has gone through the exact same cycle with me and my boundaries. For example, I will ask her not to touch me because I don't like people touching me, and she will back off for a few days and then start again. It's infuriating. I was thinking about what I wanted from a relationship with my father, and I came up with 3 things. Financial security. This really shouldn't come as any surprise. I'll get scholarships for college, but it will still probably cost $5,000 a year if I get lucky, and I don't have that money. A car would be nice, but it's definitely not a necessity and not something I can ask for now. I won't need one until graduation at the earliest, and I can obviously survive without one for 4 years of college. The truth. I want to know if my sister was forced out of my dad's house, and I want to know if my own memory is valid. I doubt I'll ever know for sure, but therapy may help. And finally, a dad. I want a parent that will support me and love me, and I'm sure there's a way to have a relationship with my dad and sister simultaneously. If it turns out that he is a liar and a manipulator and really won't change, then I can cut him out, but I want to give him an honest chance first. And I want to give you guys an honest chance to go listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. But there is a little bit left to the story. Do you have any final thoughts?
Trust your gut, OP, and like I said, just keep your arm's length.
Given these 3 things, I decided to give therapy with my dad a chance. I'm hoping we can use my personal therapist that I've been with for a couple years now, so she already knows all the drama. She's great. She's not afraid to call me out in a productive way if I'm being unrealistic, and is very good at helping me navigate my feelings. She also specializes in teens and their parents, so it really is a perfect fit. As of right now, I'm not comfortable seeing my dad outside of therapy, but that may change with time. I don't see my sister ever having a relationship with my dad, but she will always be welcome in therapy, and I, of course, won't push her to forgive him. I wanted to address the few comments in my latest post that told me to just move on. I really thought about it, but for me, there's a little too much hurt and history to do that in a healthy way, at least right now. That's part of why I wanted to start with therapy, to move past that hurt and go from there. I'm very optimistic that this can happen, but even if it doesn't, I won't spend my life wondering what could have happened if I didn't at least try. Finally, I want to thank everyone that commented on my other posts. It really helped to give me clarity, and all the different opinions were incredibly helpful. Hopefully this is the last time you hear from me about this issue. And that is the end of that story.
My father ruined my guitar. It was the last straw for me.
And the last string on the guitar.
Oh! Trigger warning on this episode right now for narcissistic parents, as this dad is a narcissist, and also for mentions of self-harm and suicide. I am a pharmacy intern and an immunizer that has been helping out since the pandemic started. I've been working crazy hours, and my schedule at the hospital is all over the place. For everyone listening, N-Dad, the N stands for narcissism. I'm going to just refer to him as Dad for the rest of the story. My dad is the type where he needs total control over my life and needs to know my exact schedule and times and tracks the mileage on my car and everything, which sounds like narcissism to me. My mom just sticks to everything everything my dad says, so there is no use there. I've learned to live with it as I'm staying home with my parents during the pandemic to save money. By the way, this comes from user Kitty Glock. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. This day in particular, the hospital was severely understaffed, and I stayed behind 3 hours to help out per my supervisor asking me to. I called my dad to let him know, and he didn't answer, so I left him a voicemail and shot him a text just in case. After this, I left my phone on the pharmacy desk somewhere as I was assisting and delivering medicine throughout the hospital, and it was so hectic, I just didn't think much of it. After my shift was over, I grabbed my stuff and noticed I had 20 plus missed calls from my dad. I called and he was furious, calling me a liar, cheater, and effing stupid witch. He told me I'd regret lying and to come home immediately. When I came home, I expected another screaming match. But what I didn't expect is that my Ibanez Black Aura Burst just completely effed up on the ground. It was a gift from my late uncle, who was an avid guitar player and taught me from the age of 10. He left me a sum of money after he passed for me to pick any guitar of my choice. He was my dad's bio brother and saved me from a lot of butt slappings and basically raised me into what I am today. I considered him basically my father figure, so the guitar was extremely sentimental to me. He passed away when I was 15 from colon cancer, and the guitar was the last thing I had from him. Playing the guitar for me was a hobby that took away so much stress and gave me so much happiness and relief. My guitar saved me from so many times where I considered self-harm and gave me a reason to live. So coming home to see her smashed to crap on the living room floor was like looking at my will to live literally being destroyed, as corny as that sounds. Anyways, my dad basically said it's my fault since I didn't wait to call him multiple times to pick up, but apparently he can't effing read a text message or listen to a voicemail. I gathered the pieces of my guitar into a trash bag and clothing, and I stole all his toilet paper and booked it to a hotel where I'm writing this on my iPhone. I don't know what I'm going to do now, but I know I'm never going to talk or see him again, and that makes me feel better. I wish I could see my uncle again, though. There's an edit here. The Black Aura Burst is a 2019 model guitar that I bought with the money that my uncle left with me. Hence, it was his last gift to me, but he passed away and was buried with his Ibanez RG 770. That was his guitar. He was an Ibanez man, and I wanted to just carry on the tradition. I wanted to clear up the confusion, if there was any. And there is an update. Hello, everyone. I'm so sorry I haven't been able to update sooner. Life has been hectic, and honestly, it's been really hard for me to really think about it. Thank you so much to everyone who gave me great advice and reassurance. I don't know what would have happened to me if I didn't have the support. Gonna go ahead and address a couple of things and thank the people who reached out to me privately, not only to extend a hand to me financially, but give me such kind words. Thank you. It means a lot. What is the model of the guitar? It's RGD71ALMS. Work situation. The day after the incident happened, I notified security of the threat immediately and removed my parents from my contact list. I also let some of my coworkers know about my situation, and I have coworkers who work nearly the same schedule as I do. So we've been parking next to each other, and they've basically been escorting me to and from the buildings, and I'm eternally grateful. I have also spoken with my supervisor about having me transferred to another hospital farther away. Unfortunately, due to the circumstances we are in right now, short-staffed and pandemic, and most positions are filled, I'm unable to transfer. But a transfer is something I would have to wait for in a couple of months. Necessary documents for moving out. My best friend Rob and his boyfriend have allowed me to stay with them for as long as I need to. Rob is very familiar with my dad and has even extended the offer to let me stay with him even before the guitar smash happened. Really grateful for his support right now, and I've been trying my best to be an amazing roommate because this seems like it's going to be a long-term thing, seeing how I'm unable to transfer with my job. I was thinking of looking at getting my own apartment, but Rob insists on me staying as long as I can pay rent and do chores around the house, which I'm more than happy to do. So no worries. Living situation figured out. I'm sure children of narcissistic parents get very familiar with their parents' schedule so they can plan around it. All throughout my teen life, I memorized my parents' work schedule. Knowing this info, I basically planned sneaking back into the house, packing the rest of my stuff, and bouncing since I did a half-butt job the first time. I knew where all my important documents were, fortunately, and got the rest of my clothes and belongings. The surprising thing was when I went in my room, there was a card on the desk from my parents, and it was addressed to me. Basically, in the letter was an apology from my dad. He was saying how he lost control and he was only worried about me since I'm his only child, and that I should understand his anger comes from a place of love. He says he knows his anger is an issue and it's the reason why we don't have a healthy relationship. It was really painful for me to read. Dang it! I straight up bawled my eyes out in my room. The crazy thing about my narcissistic parents is that most of the time they realize how damaging their actions are, but they won't fix them because they think they're right and that they can't do anything wrong. If we, the children, get hurt by their actions, we deserve it. That is how their mind works. As much as I wanted to forgive him because I do love him very much, I knew if I did, the cycle would start all over again, and next time I'd lose much more than a guitar over his tantrum. I left the note on the desk opened so he would know I read it and still chose to leave. A police report for damaged property? I am not filing a police report against my dad. I really thought about it, but I decided against it. Even though that guitar was a good chunk of money and it would be a felony charge, I really just don't have the energy to put into it. But my parents are on the wealthier side, so I'm sure it would be a really drawn out legal fight. Addressing the cheating part. Yes, my dad called me a cheater over the phone for real, and it isn't the first time. He has a skewed definition of the word cheater, but again, I'm his only child, and I'm also a girl. He's always felt like he's had this claim over me, like I'm his property. That's actually the most disturbing thing I've read in this entire story. Your dad claims you as property and says you're cheating on him with just other human beings?
No!
Yeah, that's like, can you file a restraining order against your dad with just the information you have right now? Because I would do that. I would try to find a way to make it illegal for him to come around you, and something that could get him punished by law.
Make the police report, but say you don't want to press charges so that they still have the report. And if he comes back and tries anything, it's noted. You can do that without actually having to go through with any legal action against him.
He always lost his crap when I was dating someone or if anyone showed interest in me. It was so effing weird. This is a whole other piece of trauma in my childhood that I don't want to visit right now. What happened to the guitar? I took my baby to an old friend of my uncle's who we used to play with named Adam. I basically just handed him the trash bag I had the guitar in and left and told him to call me to see if it was fixable. I really didn't want to look at the guitar any more than I had to. He called me a couple hours later and told me there was no way I could salvage her. If anyone knows anything about Ibanez, they are known for their slender necks, and her neck was so damaged it was on the verge of snapping. My dad didn't just smash my guitar on the ground. He took a hammer or something to the body and bent the neck. I just ended up deciding to burn the guitar and just keeping the metal pieces like the tuner's bridge and strings as a keepsake. Honestly, losing that guitar feels like losing my uncle all over again. Painful as F, and it took a day after the incident for all the emotions to set in. I've been drowning myself in work and maybe a little booze to not think about it, and I don't think I really want to play anytime soon. Why did I steal all the toilet paper? He stole all the toilet paper because it's the pandemic and these people deserve to not be able to wipe their butts. That's why he did it. I'm not even going to read the rest of that. I'm just going to go tell you right now that you can listen to full episodes with stories just like this on Spotify and iHeartRadio and Apple Podcasts and wherever you listen to podcasts. All you have to do is search OK Storytime, which is right here on my hat. Then you can listen to over 2,000 episodes. Clearly the toilet paper was stolen because it was going to be hard for them to get more toilet paper. And he smashed his guitar.
And I love that. The toilet paper thing, that's great.
The greatest form of petty revenge. No crimes were committed.
Just toilet paper.
Why don't you do it how the pioneers did it? You have two hands, right? Left hand, right hand. Pick one. A lot of you are saying this is a last gift from my uncle. The freedom from my dad forever. And that's beautiful. And I think it's true. I'm not a spiritual person, but that night in the hotel after I made this post, I had some dark thoughts. And I dreamed about my uncle that night for the first time in years. I guess everything happens for a reason. Again, thanks so much to everyone. I owe this update to y'all. And just a final edit, my uncle actually left me quite a bit when he passed, and I will be very comfortable for a while. Money was never an issue. The only reason I'm staying with Rob, my friend, is because he's just afraid for my safety if I were to stay home alone. My dad is crazy enough to hire a PI. I also plan on melting the metal pieces down into jewelry, as many of you recommended.
Yeah!
And I will post the results. Love you guys. And that is the end of that story. Your father hiring a PI against you probably could be used for some kind of maybe harassment case. I don't know. All the stuff that your dad does against you, paper trail it. Your priority one is making it so that if he does try to get close to you again, you can have that be an arrestable offense.
Yeah, and staying with your friend for safety for a while, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And eventually, maybe you can find a different roommate for a place on your own, or maybe eventually live on your own, but
yeah,
it's safe for now.
That's the end of that story. And we have another one coming right up.
My father's sister tried to sue me because she doesn't understand how taxes work.
How do taxes?
I don't know. Anywho, the dramatis personae. Me, 44, female.
Ooh.
My dad, 63, and his sister, 65, and my grandmother, 78, at the time of her passing in 2008, which is when this story takes place. This subject of this saga is my father's sister, Darla, which is not her real name. Please note that I do not say aunt. She is his sister. That's it. She is older than my dad by maybe 2 years and is my watermark for a failed human being.
Oh, so it is her aunt, but she just refuses to acknowledge her.
Exactly. By the way, this comes from Benevolent Mess on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to that r/OK Storytime subreddit. We'll read them. So, she's only ever worked crap jobs, not a real mark against her, but she's never aspired to better positions and is always lying about what she does versus what she actually does. Example, she was a janitor at the local zoo for a bit, but told everyone that she was a legit zookeeper, like with the animals. No, Darla, no. She's abandoned jobs. When her cat passed away, she put her in the freezer because she couldn't handle that pup had passed away. Yikes. She is an opioid regular user. She leached off of my family when she was in contact with us and apparently tried to hook up with my mom when they were all in high school because she found out that dad liked mom and tried to prove something, maybe. Anyway, it didn't work, which is how I got here. Whoops. After my grandfather passed away, R.I.P. Grandpa, Grandma's health gradually started to decline. Emphysema, osteoporosis, and a couple of hip replacements, but her mind stayed whip crack sharp. She had one weakness. She promised Grandpa that she would keep the family together after he was gone. Dad was a wild child when he was younger, but he's mellowed out a lot and has become a responsible adult. And Darla, not so much. She bullied Grandma into letting her move in to be a caretaker for Grandma in her sunset years. Grandma knew this was a bad idea, but acquiesced. Sure enough, Darla moved in and proceeded to contribute absolute F all. As in, she'd been lying on the couch reading a magazine while Grandma would be vacuuming the house of all of Darla's cat's hair, all while she was hooked up to a bloody oxygen tank. Emphysema, remember? She was unemployed, so contributed nothing towards the upkeep of the house or bills. And one day, Dad swung by to see how Grandma was doing and found her looking awful and was listless. Grayish skin, she could barely hold up her head, and she was not okay. He barked for Darla to get off her butt and help him get their mom to the hospital. This half-wit wanted to take the time to do Grandma's hair before going to the ER because she might be passing away. What? Dad snapped at her in language that, as a retired sailor, impressed even me. He got Grandma in the truck and got her to the hospital, but she never made it home. Oh, wow. Grandma's prime directive in her will was that she did not want to live if it meant being hooked up to a slew of machines. They intubated her in an O2 tent, trying to get her blood oxygen levels back up to safe levels, but smoking for most of her life had done its damage, and she not only had lost 80% of her lung capacity, she was also in the first stages of lung cancer. Dad, while holding her hand, asked her, "Mom, are you sure?" She firmly nodded, witnessed by the doctor and the hospital chaplain. Dad was her power of attorney.
I gotta say, big props to Grandma.
Big props. She was very strong up until the end, taking care of her daughter.
Oh yeah, well, I mean,
leeching off of her.
And she knew what she was doing. She's like, I know Darla's not gonna help me, but
yeah.
I mean, what am I gonna do? Like,
yeah.
I can't turn her away. Like,
right.
And Darla's got her own slew of problems and stuff.
Exactly.
It's like, but Darla needs help. She should not have been the caretaker.
Yeah.
But my point was like not being hooked up to a bunch of machines.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, she's like, nah, don't do that to me.
Nah, for me.
If I can't make it, I can't make it.
Yeah. 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 Props to her for understanding that. Now, Darla was down smoking in the courtyard, and it didn't occur to her when they called Code Blue in the ICU that it might be something that she should pay attention to. When she got back up to Grandma's room, she was already gone. She immediately tried to butt in on the proceedings as she was the oldest, but the doc shut it down with, "Maybe so, but your brother is her legal power of attorney." At the time, I was stationed on Guam, and the Navy wouldn't fly me home on emergency leave because she wasn't what they considered a close relationship relative.
Dang.
Meaning that I wasn't raised in her household. That meant that I wouldn't make it home for a funeral. When Dad broke the news to me, we figured Grandma wouldn't want a sad, boring old funeral. No, you need to understand, Grandma was awesome. Her 69th birthday was entertaining.
Funny number.
So we agreed that Dad would safe keep her ashes until I got home, and we would have a farewell party. When I got home, we indeed had a weekend-long open house wake, and the barbecue didn't go cold for the entire time. Friends of family would stop in, donate some adult soda or meat, and we told funny grandma stories. Dad and I interred Grandma's ashes as she wished on our family property, as it was the first and only land that she'd ever owned herself. She was an immigrant from England, married to my American grandfather after World War II, and everything had been in his name. We set her up a beautiful memorial spot under this gorgeous Douglas fir tree with a little cement bench and all her wind chimes and bird feeders. Dad and I did all the work. Darla showed up to see it after we were done and left a pack of on the bench. What? My father is the only reason I'm not in prison orange. Okay, there was a funny moment there. As Dad was pouring Grandma's ashes into the earth, I suddenly realized she was gone. My beautiful, vivacious, hilarious flirt of a bird of a grandma was gone. I would never hear her tisk or call me pumpkin ever again. My heart broke and I started hyperventilating, trying not to wail my heart out. My brain, or grandma's spirit, stepped in, and suddenly I started laughing hysterically, like that slightly spooky, hysterical laughter. Dad looked up to me a little concerned and asked, "Baby, are you okay?" All I could wheeze out was, "They turned Grandma into kitty litter." And Dad started laughing just as hard, and we ended up on our knees in the red Oklahoma dirt, leaning on each other and laughing so hard that we were crying. I like to think that Grandma was having a last laugh with us and that she was okay. We also took care of the inheritance portion of the will while I was home. Grandma wasn't even completely cold yet when Darla went through the house pointing out things that she wanted. Dad snapped not a stick or stitch would leave the house before I got home, period. Before Grandma passed, she and Dad realized how the inheritance was divided up was actually a terrible idea. I had a $10,000 CD in my name. Darla got the land lot adjacent to the one with the house, which went to Dad. Darla having custody of something as valuable as land, shudder. So they asked me if I would be okay with swapping. Absolutely. She, being an absolute dingbat, agreed immediately, only hearing the $10,000 part.
Oh my lord. Oh my lord. She thought she was getting the good end of that bargain.
Yeah.
Oh my god. She gave up land for $10,000 in a CD, which like has rules and stipulations on when you can withdraw it and when you can't.
Gotcha.
So it's $10,000, but like it's not like it's in a savings account.
Right. Since the CD was still in my name, I had to be the one to pull it. The clerk at the bank informed me, with Darla and Dad right next to me, that the state would take its cut of taxes and I would receive a cashier's check of the balance. Okay, fine. The balance was roughly $8,200, which I turned and literally handed to Darla, who immediately asked, "Where's the rest?" I explained that it went towards taxes. Dad explained that it went to taxes. The clerk explains that it went to taxes. I wonder if it went to taxes.
She kept saying that word. They kept saying this fake made up word.
Right.
That I didn't know what it was.
Right.
I just wanted my $2,000.
Darla initially sulked but pocketed the check. Fast forward a couple of years, I'm getting home from a 9-month deployment just in time for my birthday and decided to spend it that year with Dad. We went to our favorite Chinese buffet, then the Pew Pew range to celebrate. After we got back to the house, we're sitting in the living room cleaning our Merca when Darla comes in and sits on the other end of the couch from me. She makes some idle random chit chat with Dad while I'm staunchly ignoring her. I hold her responsible for Grandma passing when she did. There's a quiet couple of minutes, and then Darla, without wishing me a happy birthday, it was literally the day of, or asking how deployment went, says, "So since you're flush from all that war money, can I get the $1,800 you owe me? I beg your finest effing pardon?" I start putting my weapon back together at a speed that would satisfy a Marine. Dad immediately speaks up. "Darla, what are you talking about? The estate is settled." She whines about the $1,800 that was missing from the $10,000 that she was supposed to get. Dad counted to 10 and then explained in small words that even if the CD had been in her name from the get-go, it wouldn't have ever been paid out $10,000, even because of taxes. She said, "Oh," and then gets up and walks out without another word. After watching her walk out, I turned to Dad and racked back the bolt on my rifle with my eyebrows raised. Dad shook his head. Not on the property.
Oh boy. I mean, that's a
boy.
joke.
It's a joke.
Clearly a joke.
Clearly a joke.
It's
She
kinda
wasn't
funny.
going to do it.
It's just funny.
It's kind of
It's not
funny.
gonna happen. It wasn't gonna happen.
Exactly why it's funny.
That's why it's
'Cause
funny,
it's-
is because the joke is that that's the wrong thing to
That's the
do.
wrong thing to do.
Try do the bad thing that's very wrong and you shouldn't do. And then he joked, "Oh, yeah, not on the property, haha."
Yeah.
And also
Also joking.
jokes,
It's jokes, people.
jokes.
Before you get crazy.
Before you get upset, just know that was a joke.
To try and keep the story from turning into a Homeric epic in length, she tried after every deployment to demand that I pay her. Then when that didn't work, she tried to retain a lawyer to sue me for the money.
Can you imagine like this woman walking into a lawyer's office and the lawyer having to like just keep the look off of his face like, "Oh my God, I just found free money.
Yeah.
I can just pay this woman will have
Right.
to pay me for my services and there's nothing I can do."
I just have to try to explain her something that she will never understand and will keep paying me
Yeah,
to
it's just
understand.
like, well, I'll try to explain taxes to you again, but that's $500 an hour. So.
Right. The only lawyer that would even consider taking the case was one who had been disbarred. Small claims court told her that her case wouldn't hold water. She still thinks that I owe her the money. She blasted through everything that she got in the will, about $35,000 in 3 months. And after the third time she tried to sue me, I told Dad she is passed away to me. She is not to have my contact info, know where I am, what I'm doing, nothing. Dad completely agreed. He barely speaks to her, but once or twice a year, and she lives just down the street from him. And by the way, you can always talk to us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, whatever your favorite podcast app is. Just search OK Storytime because we've got full episodes with more stories just like this one.
That's right. We're right down your digital street.
Exactly.
We're right there.
And there is a little bit more to the story, but I understand OP's thing. The aunt literally does not care about her. Like, doesn't ask any questions about OP at all. Just like, where's the money? But you shouldn't be asking OP. You should be asking the government because they're the ones that have it.
It's truly astounding.
Yeah.
That this person thinks like the taxes that the government took are now owed by OP. It's like,
yeah,
I would just explain sales tax. I'd be like, so you know how you have to pay a little bit of tax every time you buy anything?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who do you think gets that money?
Yeah. You don't say like Target owes me that money, you know?
Yeah.
Like she was literally there when they cashed the check. Like she wasn't like, it's not like they could have schemed something and be like, oh, it was actually worth less than that.
Actual bank teller explained what was going on.
Tried.
But regardless, I think it's fine if you cut her out. Like, she's a very toxic force in your life and you have a lot of stuff. I think you should go to therapy regarding, you know, the passing of your grandmother and holding on a lot of like resentment and like anger about it. You know, it's just not healthy. Like, regardless of like it coming from a true place, it's unhealthy to hold on to that.
Yeah.
And, you know, Darla's also in active addiction right now. It very much seems, especially
That's
blowing
true. I
through
forgot about that.
$35,000 in 3 months.
Yeah.
You're in
and,
active addiction.
and like asking for this other money because clearly she doesn't have the
Right.
other stuff that she got rid of. So
Darla needs a lot of help. You
Yeah.
definitely don't need to be the one to give it to her,
for sure.
but she definitely needs it.
There's a little bit more to the story though. Whenever I'm in town, we take pains to avoid her. I retired out of the Navy 7 years ago, and I don't know if she knows. I don't care either way. Dad's friends are under orders that if he passes before she does, that they are to guard the house until I can get there. I would leave a trail of opioid pills into the woods and hope that a bear eats her. But I would feel bad if the bear OD'd. Oh my gosh.
I mean, look, using
is
humor
crazy.
to cope is one thing, but again, it's like if you're holding on to this like seething resentment, it's just not good for you. And I would say, I would hope that you work through it in a productive environment like
oh
therapy.
my gosh.
Regardless of how funny that objectively was,
That was such
kind of funny.
That was a hilarious out of pocket thing to say.
It's an out of pocket joke.
Yeah. It's a joke, people.
And you can make jokes about terrible things because how else are we going to deal with them?
Yeah, exactly.
That's my perspective. But anyways.
When she does finally pass away, she can go into a pauper's grave. I do not give a single solitary F I am not usually this cold, and I've had a couple of really soft-hearted friends say, but she's family. No, she's related. That's not the same thing at all. So, am I the a-hole for ghosting my father's sister? No.
I mean,
not at all.
Not really, but like, again, it's just like, she's not, you're right. Like, she's not family, she's related, sure, whatever. Someone being your family doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have them in your lives in perpetuity.
Yeah.
But she's human.
Yeah.
Which is important to remember, I think. Because it's like, you know, again, Darla needs help. She doesn't need it from you. It's fine. I think everything is fine.
Mhm.
Just don't get so wrapped up in your hatred and resentment
Yeah.
that it's like just this, it's a burden that you're going to have to carry.
Exactly.
You want to let go of that.
Exactly. And that is the end of that.
I told my husband I already feel like a single mother. He went off.
Leave him.
Trigger warning, mentions of physical altercations. So my husband, 42 male, and me, 31 female, have been married for 12 years. We have 2 kids, 8 male and 4 female. Our marriage is not great.
Oh.
His mother and sister often give unsolicited advice on my parenting, our marriage, and life in general. It is better in the last few months since I've sat down with my husband multiple times and we've talked, and this time he finally listened, so they backed off. Not completely, but it is better. By the way, this comes from Icy Memory 1247, and if you want to spit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, in the last few weeks, my husband started mentioning having a 3rd child, which fills me with dread. Shouldn't fill you
Oh.
with dread. I love children, always wanted a big family, but it would be too much. I cook, clean, take care of kids, work part-time from home, and he doesn't really help with the house, which I'm fine with. And he doesn't help with the kids, which is a problem. I changed all of the diapers, woke up at night. I take care of fevers, doctor's appointments, schools, play date, everything. That's not okay. The mere thought of now going through another pregnancy, then taking care of a baby makes me want to cry. I know I would have to do it all practically alone because my husband provides and women have been doing it for centuries. I should pull my weight and not be spoiled. It all culminated last night. After another of his, I take great care of you and kids and we should have a 3rd monologues, I snapped. I told him that he really doesn't. The kids barely know him. When he comes home from work, he doesn't pay attention to them except to snap at our daughter when she's too loud. He doesn't know anything about our days because he doesn't ask. And I stopped telling him because he wasn't listening anyway. He's not a great father, nor husband, as he likes to preach. And I have no desire to be a single mother of a 3rd child. 2 are quite enough. Thank you. He stared at me dumbfounded, then called me a C-word, delusional and ungrateful, then stormed out to his mother's house. So am I the a-hole? There's an update, but what do you think?
No, you're not.
No.
And like pop off for that.
Yeah, thank you for
speech.
saying that. Good.
I like do not have a 3rd child with this man.
No. Don't even take your 2 children that you have right now away. Like, if you have any sort of support system of family members that are not him, the fact that he called you a C-word has never once helped. I don't see this marriage working.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
Take him to someone else.
Yeah.
Or if you've already been doing the single mom thing,
Yeah.
go do the single mom thing.
It does seem like English is a second language, so there's a chance that there is some sort of cultural thing
Okay.
where like OP may not, be able to, or it might be like culturally looked down on to divorce. But if you can divorce, please do, because unless he has like a giant change of heart, you could try having another conversation where you address all of these things in a more calm manner where you're not just angry.
Yeah.
But if you've had this conversation and he doesn't listen,
I do not see things changing. I hope I'm wrong.
I hope I'm wrong. There is an update though. Morning after I made this post, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law showed up at my house. At this point, there was still no word from my husband. Let's call him Ray. It was obvious that they expected me to be alone. My kids were with brother-in-law at my sister M's house. Let's call her Mary. She was with me. So we all sat down to have a conversation. I know I was being annoying, but I kept repeating that I don't see the point in that. Conversation should happen between Ray and me. We are grown-ups and married. I didn't see a reason for them to meddle. They took great offense to that. My mother-in-law at one point said that she doesn't understand what happened to me. I'm not the girl her son married anymore. I said, of course I'm not. I'm a grown woman. She turned beet red and started screaming at me, to which Mary said she's going to call the police if she doesn't calm down. Good that your sister's there. After a few insults, mostly how I'm abusing her son and how bad of a mother I am, they left. Ray showed up a few hours later, not to ask about our children or to see how I am, but to berate me on how I treated his mother. Again, I think Mary being there changed his plan since he toned it down when she came downstairs. He demanded for her to leave. She refused and said that she's going to go upstairs so we can have a conversation, but she's not going anywhere until I ask her, which I didn't. Really, really love that Opie had a third party there. You know, someone safe who she trusts and make sure that nothing bad is gonna happen, you know?
That
very
and
smart.
the kids being out of the house.
Yeah,
they're
very
not
smart.
seeing it.
He started basically saying that I'm a bad wife, that I don't love him since I don't want more kids, and I'm blaming him for it. I shouldn't be speaking with him like that. He's a great father to our kids. You can't just say that.
Self-proclaimed
So,
great
everyone
father.
says, which is just me, that I'm a great father. I asked, which kids? Kids he hasn't seen in 3 days and didn't ask how or where they are. He then freaked out when I told him they are at brother-in-law and Mary's house, calling them both vile names that I don't want to repeat. Our conversation lasted an hour and nothing productive came of it. We were going in circles. I was scared because he multiple times started grinding his teeth and putting his hands in fists, but he would calm down after a few seconds. Yikes. I said if he's not willing to work on our marriage and thinks that he is completely in the right, we should get a divorce. He at first said, fine, if that's what you want, you should pack up and leave. I started packing and he ranted how I can't live without him, how he can't wait for me to explain to the kids why they're moving and similar. I said that the kids are not moving anywhere. They are staying in the house, and whichever parent stays here is taking care of them. He really couldn't comprehend what I was saying. I'm not turning our kids' lives upside down. Divorce is enough change. They're not going anywhere. Then his tune changed. He was willing to hear me out. I swear I thought I was going to pop a blood vessel from rage. I said I don't care anymore. We are getting a divorce. The only questions are about logistics and our kids. To not make this post even longer, this also went in circles and it got physical. Mary got involved. They started pushing each other. I called the police. We managed to push him through the door and locked it. He left before the police came. We gave statements and I stayed at the house. Currently, I'm being bombarded with texts from his family. Again, not a peep from him. I'm filing for divorce. I don't know why I thought that this can end any differently, but I'm also glad that I tried. For people who found my previous posts, I'm ashamed of how I was speaking about Mary, but I was envious until I realized that I was projecting my unhappiness with life onto her. She didn't deserve it. She was and still is an amazing sister and an even better person. Thank you all. I got amazing advice and words of encouragement. The internet can also be full of wonderful people, and I'm grateful for each and every one of you. And there is a second update, but do you have any thoughts?
I so commend
Yeah.
her for how well she came in with her points in the moment like that.
Yeah.
That's hard when you're
Yeah.
being yelled at and stuff.
Absolutely.
And then the whole him outing himself about fully not wanting to take care of your kids.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was a great decision. The
Yeah.
divorce was going to happen.
It's good that it happened now before any, bad things happened. Thank goodness they didn't. Thank
before
goodness you
a
had
third
Mary.
kid.
Yeah, or before a third kid. Thank goodness you had Mary there.
Yeah.
It seems like she really cares about you, which is good. You have that, don't forget that you have that support system. It just wasn't who you thought it was.
Yeah.
There
And that's
is a
okay.
second update. Hi, everyone. It's been a while. I am officially divorced as of this morning. We signed the papers a few days ago, but today I got the divorce certificate. So much has happened. I don't think people would believe me if I tried to type it all. So I'm going to do just the most important stuff. In the weeks after I made my post, my ex Ray decided that he wanted to work on our marriage. It's a little too late, bud. It's a little too late. That he'll try to be a better husband and win me back. That mostly consisted of him pestering me, calling me constantly from multiple numbers, sending me flowers, chocolates, and candy. I don't even eat sweets. And showing up randomly at places where I regularly go. He doesn't know anything about you.
I just love that too. It's he really wanted to get me back. He was so annoying.
He was so annoying. Yeah, he kept bothering me and getting me gifts that I don't even like.
Yeah.
Which proves that he doesn't know who you are. He doesn't care. He's probably never listened to you. He doesn't care about you guys' kids. We live in a small town, around 15K people, so it became town gossip. It felt like everyone was talking about me. My ex-mother-in-law tried really hard to paint me as some mentally unstable, nasty person who just one day decided to destroy a family. She attacked me at a child's birthday party when I was dropping off my son. Oh my goodness. Sister-in-law's child's birthday. Then she tried to say bad things about me to my kids. Luckily, Ray put a stop to that. At least he did something right.
He's good for one thing.
Literally one thing. She did everything and anything to make me feel like crap, whilst saying that she would like nothing more than for Ray and me to be back together. I didn't want to keep her from my kids, so I let them spend time with her, father-in-law and sister-in-law and her kids. She took my kids to the park that she knows I think is unsafe. It is unsafe, old and rusty. She also took them to buy shoes. I know this is a weird thing to be angry about, but I have some childhood trauma and I need to know that their shoes fit right and they are not too small. It's not a big thing overall, but she did it intentionally to hurt me. I lost it when I came to pick them up and was told they bought new shoes. Everyone was there, mother-in-law, father-in-law, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, Ray. So I just screamed at everyone. I called mother-in-law names that I didn't even know I knew. Told Ray that he's spineless, worthless excuse for a man. Called father-in-law a houseplant. It makes more sense in my language. Basically, I called him useless. And told sister-in-law that she's very brave when she gossips, but is a doormat to her husband and mother. Luckily, the kids were outside, so they know we were fighting, but didn't hear what was said. Nobody said anything to me. They were shocked. I had to call my sister on my way home because I didn't think I could drive, so I parked and waited. She picked me up, we put the kids to bed, and I just cried. I think I cried for 5 hours straight. I hated who I'd become. I was sad and angry all the time. Everyone annoyed me. It was just awful. It did get better. The next time Ray cornered me in a grocery store, I threatened to call the police. It's better. And when he kept calling, I actually did. Police told me that they will give him a warning. They told him that next time he tries to speak to me and it's not directly about children, he will spend the night in jail and he will get a pestering charge. Police officer also gave me his personal number if I want clarification on what can be reported. Again, small place, we went to the same school. I joined a group that my sister started where we do things in a community. Like we would get together and pick trash from parks, paint fences or benches, get older people to appointments or get them groceries, things like that. I started cleaning a house of an older lady with cancer who lives alone. She insisted that she start paying me, and combined with my part-time job and rent, me and my sister inherited a house from our mother that we rent out and split the money. Now I have a decent income. Look at you, OP.
Pop off.
Popping
Trudy.
off.
She's doing the thing.
Yeah. After many, many awful, exhausting weeks, Ray agreed to divorce me. Finally. I agreed not to get alimony if I get to stay in the house with kids, only child support. I don't want my kids to suffer, but it did make me sad that they didn't seem to miss their father. Well, it sucks, but he's never been around.
You said that he hadn't seen them in 3 days at one point.
Like this is not a guy who their kids know.
Yeah.
The school therapist talked with them and they're fine. They accept the divorce as much as they understand due to their age. And no matter what age you are, you can listen to full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. I mean, maybe if you're very young, you should avoid certain episodes, but for the most part. There is a little bit left to the story. Do you have any final thoughts?
I think she's doing everything right now at this point. I mean, hopefully he stays away from her. She doesn't have to call the cops, but
yeah. No, I think that you're putting up your boundaries. You're not letting him walk all over you.
She's great at putting up those boundaries.
From like the start, I've been like, don't talk to me like that.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. There's a little bit left though. We had a lot of conversations about what this means for them, me, and Ray. They are good, well-adjusted children, but it made me feel stupid and incompetent. What was I doing all these years? Doing everything for a man that was such a bad parent that his kids don't even miss him? How dumb am I? I started going outside more, spent more time with people, and it's great. Turns out that no matter how much mother-in-law tried, it's hard to convince people that I'm a bad person, since a lot of them know me since I was a child, and they also have known my ex-husband's family. So there's that. Thank you all. I was very confused and very scared when I posted, but I am so glad that I did. A lot of you helped me and made me see things clearly, and I am forever grateful. And that is the end of that story. But you're doing great, OP.
Doing great.
Just know that you're on the right path.
I overheard my mother calling me lame. It made me furious.
Your mom's lame.
Yeah. So, last year, my mom, 38 female, left my dad for her old boyfriend, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
He got out of jail.
Yikes.
And mom and dad were arguing a lot, and she left to be with him. I wonder if they had been arguing about Mike getting out of jail.
It's a rough start.
I've met Mike a few times, but generally when I'm with mom or at her place, it's just her and me because she says she doesn't want to share her time with me with anyone else. By the way, this comes from user Zesty Close Claw, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, except since they've got together, my mom has changed a lot. For one, she dresses different and is way more affectionate. When she picks me up from school, she's always wearing Lululemon and will wait outside the car and hug and kiss me in front of everyone before we can go, and sometimes she hugs me in the morning until I wake up. She's made me start going to the gym with her, made me start taking my uncle's Taekwondo classes, and on Sunday makes me wake up at 6 unless it's raining to go on runs.
Dude, crazy.
She's on program, dude.
And she's like, we gotta run. Let's up and at 'em.
This is Mike, dude. She's on Mike's program.
Apparently.
She always makes me get so tired in the gym, and my uncle is harder on me than anyone else in his class, and the morning runs ruin Sunday for me.
Dude, what is she training you for?
Greatness. I've told her all this, but she says it's for my own good, and especially gets upset when I complain about my uncle. 2 days ago, I tried phoning my mom about something I left at her place, and she didn't pick up. She butt dialed me after, and when I picked up, I could hear her, but she couldn't hear me, and she was talking to Mike. It was just small talk, but then Mike brought me up, and I heard her say to Mike straight up, he's so lame, just like his dad.
Is that why she's trying to like train you for the Olympics? She's like, he's so lame. I need to toughen him up a bit. He's got to be a track star. I need him to be interesting.
It is weird.
It's weird. This is weird. Your mom's weird.
A fundamentally weird position to have on your kid.
Yeah. Maybe she wasn't talking about you.
Yeah, who knows?
It's giving like a CrossFit mom.
Yeah. She's like, he's just not strong enough for these 6 a.m. morning runs. He's got to be faster.
He then asked if my mom would choose him over me, and she said something like, obviously I'd choose my son, and that he needs to start being active in my life so I end up like him and not my dad. It made me so mad, and I still feel that way. And yesterday, she surprised me by picking me up from my uncle's class to take me to Dairy Queen, and I just couldn't talk to her. She got really worried that something was wrong with me, and when she dropped me off at my dad's, I know they got into an argument. Am I the a-hole for not telling her that that you knew she called you lame?
Why would you be the a-hole? Let's keep reading. I need more information about this.
Okay. OP on his uncle and why Mike went to jail. My uncle would his butt if they ever fought, and I'm pretty sure Mike's afraid of him too, since we all had a dinner and he was really quiet and polite to him the whole time. I don't know why Mike went to jail, and when I asked, my mom just said it doesn't matter because he was innocent, and I don't know how she knows that, but she believes it. OP on why his mom is with Mike. I don't know, but she's happier with him than she ever was with my dad. They used to date when they were in high school, and I guess she's always wanted to be with him. Update, man.
I guess you should talk to your mom and figure out what she was talking about, because like, I don't know what's going on here. Like, she's happy with Mike. She said you were lame. That's all the information we have here.
All of the answers to this are also
And
like,
she's training you for the Olympics.
Yeah, it's like, Mom, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
That's just like the question. And she'll be like, doing what? It's doing all of this.
Yeah. Why do you need me to like join you in all these things?
Do you just like, do you hate dad so much that like you can't stand that I'm also half of him?
Yeah.
And so you're trying to like program
I think they
the
gotta
half of him that's in me out of me.
I think they have to have some sort of conversation. They just gotta talk.
Which honestly, look, being fitness and being into fitness culture is cool. It does circle around though and become super lame at some point. If it's just literally your entire life.
That's true.
You could say that about pretty much anything.
Yeah. Anything in excess, not great.
Update. I'm not really sure what to type, but I feel like I need to write about some things that have happened. When I was writing my last post, I was reading the Expanse books, and pretty much there's stuff in the second one about moms not seeing their kids. I know that's so different from my situation, and it's not real, but I think that it's what got me really emotional and scared, and I didn't realize that until I looked back at the comments. So my dad pretty much told me that I needed to talk to my mom because he didn't want to deal with her and she was going to pick me up from school so we could work it out. Hate that is Dad's response.
Yeah.
When she did, I just tried talking to her like normal or lying, but she knew I was lying and seemed really worried. So I told her everything and it made her cry and I felt really awful, but then she started apologizing to me, which was really weird. She told me that she shouldn't have said that and she was wrong to say it and that I'm not lame.
Aw.
But then why'd you say that?
Well, okay,
Why'd you say
I'm
it?
not excusing that. I think that's like really, really hurtful, but parents are humans and sometimes they get annoyed by their kids and then they say mean things about their kids. She didn't
Yeah.
say it to him. He overheard it. Doesn't excuse it.
I
do
think that's
it's
worse, actually.
that she said it. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it is. It can be worse because he overhears it and then he's like, you're talking behind my back.
I think if you think your kid's lame, you should go, buddy.
You're
I
lame.
think we have changes that would help you live a better, more fulfilled
Yeah.
existence.
I don't think it's okay that she did it, but I think that they needed to talk about this. And maybe she'll come back around and be like, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I was dealing with things. But like she still is super in the wrong for doing it. But I'm hopeful based off this reaction. We'll see.
She said that I'm her only child and that sometimes she gets jealous of how much I'm like my dad and wishes I was more like her. She ranted about how much she hates my dad
Okay.
and how he ruined her life and it was his fault.
Never
and
mind.
She said it.
Never mind. She went back around. Dang. I had hope for her for about a second. That sucks.
Then she started saying she would pass away without me and promised she was going to make it up to me and never say something like that again. And since then, she really has tried. Like she'll come to school randomly during lunch and drop me off lunch or make special dinner for me or even help out with my uncle's classes. She's not as good as him, but knows the lessons. Talking about Taekwondo.
Yeah.
But literally the week after, she also forced me to go to counseling with her and is making me go with her every week now. All we do there is talk, and we've talked so much now about what she said and how I felt and that I'm kind of annoyed by it. So yeah, I don't really like it, but she seems to think it's helping. And she even said once she should have made us go the moment she left my dad. Besides that, Mike proposed to my mom and she accepted, and she honestly seems happier than she's ever been. She's been hanging out with his daughter and his niece a lot too to plan her wedding. I'm still not close to him or anything, but I don't know. I don't feel like I can say anything with how happy my mom is. I mean, she's calling all of our relatives to tell them the news and telling me to start writing my speech. And by the way, if you need to write a speech, you can get all the material you need by listening to full episodes of stories just like this on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on iHeartRadio, literally wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search OK Storytime. And you can listen to the whole archive.
It's true.
Yeah, and we'll ship you a little medal. Just a little tiny medal
Just an itty bitty one.
that says, really good job, good job.
Thanks for listening to all of them.
It says all that. Really good job, thanks for listening to all of them. And it's on a little gold
medal.
medal. And there's a little more story. But Sophia, do you have any final thoughts?
Tricky. I think that it's good that they're going to counseling, but also I think that the mom is trying to like take off all responsibility from herself for what she said and how she's been treating her kid.
Yeah, she literally said it was your dad's fault that I called you lame.
And I'm really
to
hoping
my
that
new guy.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that she learns in counseling that was not okay and that she needs to like own up and take responsibility. But right now, not seeing that. Don't
Not
love
particularly. Not particularly. So Dad's been pissed off ever since he learned. And the worst part is that after she made me admit this in counseling, she listened to the therapist and wants me to start going to sessions by myself. She said my uncle will take me on the days that she's going to book for me, so I won't feel any pressure from her. I just hate it. I hate talking about these things, and I wish I didn't have to.
Well, I think you should. I think you do need to talk about them.
We have some comments here. OP on if his mom would let him stop therapy. I have no choice but to continue therapy. She's not going to let me stop. Maybe she'd let me stop the one we do together, but not the one where I go alone. Which, again, I think you'll actually get a lot out of that. OP on why his mom isn't going to let him stop. I've tried telling her that I don't feel like it's helping me, but she just said that therapy is a process, that maybe going alone will make it better, and that she's not going to risk my mental health, and she should have had me start going months ago. OP on if his mom cheated on his dad. She didn't cheat on him. I know that. While they were still together, they were both arguing and yelling a lot about everything. I know she wasn't happy back then. I just wish that she was. OP on if he and his mom discussed her ranting about his dad at therapy. I did tell him, she brought it up herself actually, and we talked so long about it, and she agreed that she shouldn't have said that it was wrong, and the therapist literally said what you said, that it showed she's not taking accountability, and then we wouldn't stop talking about it. It's just so exhausting. OP on how long his mom and Mike have been together, and if it was a fast engagement. They didn't immediately get engaged. They've been together for about a year now. I don't know why he went away, but even if it was something bad, I just feel it wouldn't break my mom and him up because she already believes he didn't do anything wrong. OP on the one useful part of therapy. My mom says that he was joking about that, but I should focus on that she said she would choose me, but you're right that it feels weird. That was probably the only useful thing I feel we talked about in therapy, because I asked if she'd still choose me when she and Mike have kids. She told me she's not going to have any more kids because I'm all she needs. But besides that, it's just talking on in circles, and it's exhausting. And that is the end of that story.
Yeah, I think you'll probably find more success in individual therapy than you will with your mother.
Yeah, because you don't have to talk in circles at that point.
You can just talk about yourself.
What you want to talk about, and because it does kind of sound like your mom's kind of like everything is my way.
Yeah.
Everything I do is the right thing to do. Everything I think is the right thing to think.
And tell your therapist, like, hey, I don't think this is working for me. I'm exhausted. This is like frustrating me. Like, talk about those things too.
Also, she still can't make you go, brother. I just want to let you know. She can take you right to the therapist, and you can go, I'm not getting out of the car. I'm not going to therapy. I'm not going to do this anymore with you. I've told you I won't do it. I'm not going to do it. I'll do it alone. If she makes you keep going with her, you don't have to. Short of a court order, I think there's no way for that to be enforced. So just putting it out there. But that is the end of that story.
I refuse to speak with my father because he's still friends with my ex.
What a stinker.
This is from the r/OK Storytime subreddit. This is direct.
You don't speak to this man.
And also, trigger warning, mentions of substances. It begins 11 years ago when I called off my wedding 6 months out after an absolutely horrible night that only got worse and worse. It started off when my fiance, Mark, crashed my high school reunion and insulted my classmates with racial jokes.
Oh, what a winner.
Yikes. When I asked him to leave, he left and went to the bar next door, and we didn't speak for the rest of the night. By the way, this comes from Throwaway, Cue the Drama, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, when I got home at midnight, he wasn't home. I went to bed angry with a sinking feeling in my stomach, thinking that I'd like to call off this wedding. When I woke up at 8 a.m., Mark was not there, and I couldn't find my phone, my wallet, or my car keys. I walked home from the bar, and I could clearly remember everything from the night before. I started to second guess myself, thinking that maybe I left everything at the bar. But then how would I have gotten in the house without my keys? It made no sense. I went outside to look for Mark's car, and I could see it a few cars down. When I approached, I could smell the liquor. I found Mark passed out behind the wheel, the engine still running, and a pill bottle in his right hand.
That's not the safest way to drive.
No, yikes. Something told me to check the trunk where I found Mark's suitcase and opened it. No clothing, nothing at all. Except my phone, my wallet, every purse I owned, and my car keys. Mark denied having a drinking or prescription pill problem for months at this point, and this was my final straw. This felt like controlling behavior, and I was having none of it. This was one of the cusp of many other recent incidents, including Mark ruining my bachelorette party, where I was with my friends and two of his for several days in a cabin. Mark called me incessantly, then sent me blasts of angry texts when I didn't answer. When I called back, he wanted to know what I wanted from the grocery store. I kid you not.
Yeah, sounds like he might be a little unstable given that he's also in active addiction.
Yeah. It would take me an hour to describe what else happened, but it led me to realize that I was about to marry a self-absorbed person. with serious issues which he was in serious denial about. His risk-taking behaviors were out of control. I gave Mark back the ring, moved out, and changed my number, leaving the dress in the closet and 4 years of harmful relationship behind me. Woo! I've learned the hard way that when you're dealing with a self-absorbed person, if you embarrass them, you better be ready for payback.
Oh.
Well, Mark did anything and everything he could to embarrass me back for calling off the wedding, including openly crying in our small town bars about how I dumped him for someone else. Not true.
Which, by the way, that's actually the perfect way to do that. See how he said dumped me?
Yeah.
So you
At least he's not saying you cheated on him. Yeah.
You said, I actually realized I like this guy. I probably shouldn't be dating you. Guy doesn't even know how to, man, forget this guy, dude.
Yeah, like honestly, he can go cry and make a fool of himself. You just need to, if someone brings him up to you, you can be like, yeah, I realized he was having a whole thing with himself that he needed to deal with. I'm not going to touch that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, just let him, go cry in the town. Meanwhile, he lived with me. Oh, rent-free for half our relationship. I thought you were going to say he lived with me now.
Currently.
I was like, Well, he changed companies and started from the bottom up again. Mark even went so far as to have cigars made up with our names and wedding dates on them and pass them around at a huge party in our town, joking that he may as well use them if they're going to go to waste. Let me be clear. We never ordered these for our wedding.
Okay.
Since he had no way to contact me, I just ignored the antics and figured they'd pass away eventually. I even got rid of social media so I wouldn't have to hear any more small town tales of how I ruined Mark's life. About 2 years into my relationship with Mark, and just after we got engaged, things with my toxic family got really out of hand. Mark told me that I should just cut off my toxic family, and I agreed. And I did. Even when I called off the wedding to Mark, I stayed estranged from my family. I actually ended up reaching out to my family years later when I was getting engaged to someone new. And within minutes of hanging out with my dad to tell him I'd like to meet up, Mark texted me. Within minutes of talking to your dad?
Yeah,
That's awfully suspicious.
Yeah, your dad gave him that number.
Yep.
Yep.
On my new number. Oh.
Yep.
Yikes. Your dad. Well, we already know that you were cutting off your family. Seems like you made the right decision in that. When I asked him where he got the number, he said, your dad. Well, at least he's honest. I can't even begin to tell you how my entire world came crashing down in that moment. My dad confirmed that he had been in touch with Mark the entire time, including the 2 years that I wasn't speaking with my family while I was still engaged and wedding planning with Mark. I explained.
Wait. The guy who told you should be cutting off your whole family still talked to your dad.
He's like, you should cut them off.
After you cut him off?
Yeah, he's like, you should cut them off, but I like them, so I'm gonna stick around.
Where did they build this guy?
The silly boy factory.
The silly boy nonsense factory.
I explained to my dad that this was deeply painful to me, that they were in touch, and summarized all of the mental I had endured from Mark. I explained to my dad that Mark was pills and denying having a problem with it. My dad said that he didn't believe me about the pills, that he wouldn't stop being friends with Mark, and that they were now best friends.
Are you sure? There's no way I said that the same moment that came up.
That's funny. So much so, in fact, that they regularly go on vacations together. What the frick? The dad's like, I found a pal and you're trying to take him from me. Friendship comes in all shapes and sizes.
Buddy, you could be friends with anyone else on Earth.
Anyone else.
You know, you could try to be friends with like George Clooney or something.
Please.
I would rather you bother George than be with this guy.
That last part really irked me. I carried a lot of guilt about cutting off my toxic family, but in that single moment of time, I knew that it was the right decision for me. I did not include my family at my wedding and just carried on with life without them, as I had been doing. About 2 years after my wedding to my husband, my siblings reached out to me and told me that one of our siblings was severely ill and suggested that I come right away. My husband and I drove back to my hometown to meet up with my family for what I thought might be the final time I would see my sibling. It was a very uncomfortable drive down to see my family, whom I hadn't seen in almost a decade. The whole time I kept worrying that somehow Mark would be there, but I didn't want to ask my family if he would be. Seeing my sibling felt like the most important priority. When the door opened at my dad's house, again, my entire world came crashing down. What I saw in front of me was even worse than seeing Mark. There in front of me was every single piece of furniture from the house that I shared with Mark. Back when we were splitting, I told Mark that I never wanted to see any furniture or any memory from our time together, and that I was needing a fresh start, and thus leaving it all behind. Big mistake. Like a classic self-absorbed person, he made sure that I would see that furniture again when I least expected.
Oh no.
He plotted. He was like, oh, she's not going to expect the furniture to be in her parents' house.
I was in the bathroom at Crate and Barrel.
He just starts leaving. He goes to like all the places that she goes to, like all the restaurants and stuff, and leaves like a vase that they had. The salt shakers just on a table. And she's like, that looks so familiar. And she's going crazy.
She's like, why is the baby grand piano in Chipotle?
He gifted it all to my dad, including the bed that we slept on.
Gross.
Yikes.
Just literally burn that.
Like, honestly, WTF. I tried so hard to just ignore all of this and focus on spending time with my siblings. Thankfully, my siblings did pull through, and the joy of that led me to want to try again with my family. Not too long after this rekindling with my siblings and my dad, my family threw my dad a major milestone birthday party, but they didn't invite me because Mark was invited, and they apparently didn't want to make him and his fiance uncomfortable. What?
What are we taught? What?
Who are your family? Why are your family actively insane?
Which one is your kid, Dad? Which one is the child that is yours?
I found out that Mark had spent every holiday with my family for years at this point. Not too long after that birthday party, Mark got married and my dad was a groomsman at his wedding. This is crazy.
That's honestly pathetic. Like,
my God. Does anyone else think this is like really weird and sort of bad luck for Mark's new marriage? Yeah. After about 4 years of family things happening, which I wasn't invited to, and a few more failed attempts to get my dad to understand why his friendship with Mark was so painful for me, I came to the conclusion that this was a losing battle. I stopped trying to explain myself. I just stepped away slowly again, feeling betrayed by my parent. Well, here's where things get interesting. My sibling told me that my dad and Mark's friendship came to an end when Mark's wife found substances in his bag. Apparently, Mark cold called my dad asking if Mark could come by to give my dad back the substances that accidentally got in Mark's bag. While visiting my dad. And my dad refused to lie for Mark and say that they were his. I mean, at least he draws the line at being, accused of taking the fall for this.
Which I bet you he didn't even know about that.
Yeah. Apparently, Mark's wife is filing for divorce. Yeah, that makes sense. But you can file to listen to more full stories with episodes just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search Poke Storytime. There is a little bit left to this story. Do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, addiction's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like we don't even know what this guy really is.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that it seems like OP's dad is finally being like, oh, he is addicted. Because he originally said, I don't believe you. That's not true.
Right.
That's not true. So now he has proof coming from Mark that that's true.
Yeah.
That Mark has a problem. And so I wonder how he'll react to this. But there's a little bit left to the story. With Mark out of the picture, it felt like a good idea to get close to my dad again. And I started to call him more. It didn't take long before I learned that my dad and Mark made up. And Mark is back in the picture. Wow, that was easy. And now I feel myself backing away, but it feels like for good. I think you need to. Am I wrong for not wanting to stay connected to my dad and just stepping away for good now that Mark is again back in the picture? Am I the a-hole for not just getting over it already? No.
Leaving is how you get over this.
Yeah, you need to leave. This isn't fixable because your dad doesn't want to fix it. He wants to actively make it worse. He has no desire to have a relationship with you because he cares more about his relationship with Mark. But that, folks, is the end of that story. You're not the a-hole OP. Please don't continue to try and have a relationship with a person who doesn't care about you.
Agreed.
I told my mother to stop updating my kid's father, but she won't listen.
Stop talking to them, please.
I have a beautiful 4-year-old boy whose father, we're going to call David, is not in the picture after I made the decision of cutting him out of our lives after he got a girlfriend and stopped asking about our son. By the way, this comes from Serious Entry 7574. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. Some context. I used to live in a Hispanic country where I met David. We dated for about a year, broke up, but continued to hook up until August 2020 when the vid hit and I decided to move back to the States. When I moved back, I was unaware I was pregnant. Fast forward, I find out I'm having a boy and I make it public on social media. David texts me and asks why he was not made aware of my pregnancy and asks that we get back together and for me to move back to the country so he can be involved in my baby's life. We had a conversation and we both agreed it's in my son's best interests if he is born in the States and he can be involved in my son's life through FaceTime and phone calls. I also made him aware that if he was going to be in my son's life, it was going to be 24/7, not whenever he wanted to. David and I grew up with divorced parents and a very absent father, so naturally we didn't want our son to go through the same experiences we had with our father. Fast forward to 2022, David was very involved in my son's life. We kept things civil. We both started relationships. I met my husband and he met his now partner, who he has another kid with. A few months into David's new relationship, I noticed he started to call and text a little bit less. Naturally, I gave him the benefit of the doubt and thought maybe he's busy working or just has some family stuff going on. No big deal. He used to call about 4 to 5 times a week, text almost every day asking how our son was. Then he began to text 3, maybe 4 times a week and would call 2 times at the most during the week. One day, I decided to ask if everything was okay, and he made me aware that his girlfriend was not too happy with the fact that he had a son, so they broke things off. He then explained to her that our son was living in the States and he didn't see him physically, but he did call and text. She immediately became okay with that and continued the relationship. That for me was a red flag. Yeah, I'm sorry, he has a son. You have to get over that. If you can't, you have to leave.
Yeah, like unless she was doing math and she
Yeah.
was like, so the beginning of this pregnancy was while we were dating,
Yeah,
that would be a problem. But yeah, if he just has a son, then it's like, girl, calm down.
son doesn't just leave.
Yeah.
Doesn't just disappear.
Exactly. Like if that's just not what you want in your lifestyle right now,
Yeah.
sure, but don't get mad about
Don't
it.
get mad about it.
Yeah.
But I was not going to intervene in a relationship that was not mine. He said everything was okay, and he began to call and text a little bit more. My son was around 2 years old at this time, so he knew about his bio dad, but began to call my husband dad also. By the time August of 2022 hit, David was calling 2 to 3 times per month. I had a conversation with David about him not being there and only calling whenever he wanted to. He then explained that his girlfriend wasn't a big fan of him calling me to communicate with our son. So to please her, he began to call less and less. Eventually, I was not hearing from David for months at a time, and my son began to call and interact with my husband as if he were his dad. By then, my son had forgotten David's name and stopped asking and mentioning him. My husband and I had a talk and decided it would be for my son's well-being if he did not know about David until he was at the age where he would understand the situation. Okay, now to the title. Fast forward to 2025, David is no longer in our lives. He lives in an area remotely close to where my mother lives in this Hispanic country, so they frequently bump into each other. My mom constantly brings up this topic or David's name in front of my husband and keeps insinuating David is my son's only dad. She would send David and his mom pictures of my son, milestone updates, etc. I've asked her many times not to do so because it is disrespectful to my husband and son and to me. She always plays that he has the right to know, and I'm only trying to look out for my son's best interest at his young age. She has also expressed many times that David has been very regretful for not communicating with his son, and he would like to make it up to him. My mom has asked that I give my son the opportunity to meet David after all these years. I expressed to her that I don't think it's a convenient time to tell my son about David because he sees my husband as his dad, and I don't want to confuse an innocent 3-year-old just because David decided to please his partner and leave our son with an absent father. My mom has David's number and his mom's number, and they constantly text back and forth about how my son is doing. My mom hid this from me until recently. I asked her to stop. Otherwise, I would stop answering her calls and she would not hear from us. Obviously, she did not follow my requests. and I spent over 6 weeks without picking up phone calls from her. I received many calls and threats from her, but I ignored all of them. I stood my ground. My husband has stepped up in so many ways, being a true father figure for our son, and my son absolutely adores him. I don't believe it's fair to him to constantly have David's name rubbed in his face and to be told he is my son's only father, when my husband has been there since my son was 18 months old and has never left his side no matter what. So my question is, what do I do at this point? Should I cut off all communication with my mom for not respecting my decision, or should I give in and give David a chance to talk to our son? I'm sorry, it's such a long post, but details were needed for this to make sense. And edit, I decided not to move back to the country where my mom and David live because of the economic situation. And to be honest, I could financially support my child better in the States on my own than in that country with David's help. He also wanted to get back together, and that was not gonna happen at all. For those of you saying I'm keeping my child from his father, I made a decision for me and my son's best interest. My husband has decided not to intervene because, like I said, it's for my son and I's best interest at the moment. In the last 2 years, David has reached out max 5 times directly to me. The times he has reached out, it has been, hey, how's the kid? I reply, he's good. He did such and such today. And that's it. And then I don't hear from him for another 6 months. So forgive me for trying to avoid causing my child to feel unwanted or uncared for by someone who is said to be his father when he only remembers he has a kid every few months. The only reason David and his mom text, call, communicate with my mother is because he knows dang well that if he tried to reach out to me, he knows he will not get a response from me because I'm the bad one who doesn't let him communicate with his child when this whole time he has tried to reach out, like I said, a good 5 times in 2 years. He knows my mom will insist and insist until I give in. By the way, I'm going to insist that you guys gotta listen to full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up Focus Storytime. But there's a little bit more to the story. Like I said in the post, I grew up with an absent dad who couldn't keep a job, had 2 more kids after my siblings and I, and who was in and out of our lives whenever he felt he needed to give us love. And to this day, reaches out every once in a while asking for money. Personally, I decided to not have communication with my dad for my own mental health. So forgive me for trying to save my child from the trauma, daddy issues, and not feeling loved or wanted from a parent who decides to be in and out of his life. The only thing I'll say to that comment, I do think in part you're right. You had a choice in not wanting to have a relationship with your dad. So I do think just when your child is old enough, providing them that same choice.
Yeah.
If I have the opportunity to give my son a father figure who will actually love and care for him, so be it. I don't care if he is his bio dad or not. When my son is old enough to understand, he will know the truth. That is it.
Yeah, that's complicated. Because that question originally was, am I the a-hole if I don't let David contact the kid, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I wonder if she can have a tougher conversation with him. Be like, hey, you said you wanted to be more active, but your activity is a couple times every couple years.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah. So it's what that means to me is that you're calling this amount of times. So if you don't want to call this amount of times, then we're going to give you another title and we're going to explain your behavior a different way.
Yeah. No, I think just having that conversation with him again, only because he is still he's not a dad in how much effort he's putting in for sure, but he is,
purely biologically
dad.
Yeah. I want to move in with my boyfriend, but my mom can't stand him.
Mother knows best.
I, 23 female, and my boyfriend, 25 male, and I have been together for 3 years. We met online and clicked right away. He's genuinely one of the kindest, most hardworking people I know. I just graduated with a degree in graphic design and have been living at home to save money during school. By the way, this comes from Macaroon Top 4015, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. The tough part is my mom has hated him from the start. She used to let him come over, but now he's not even allowed on our property. When I used to borrow my parents' car, they gave me strict rules about when I could see him. Even after getting my own car, they constantly tried to guilt me about where I went and tracked my location through my phone. It's been really emotionally exhausting. My mom constantly insults him and even talks badly about me for staying with him. She calls him white trash and says that he won't amount to anything. The truth is, he's worked his butt off. He left a high-paying job to go to trade school, just got his journeyman license, and is planning to get his degree in electrical engineering. He's not perfect, but he's doing everything he can to build a better future. My mom has even tried to bribe me to break up with him, offering things like vacations or a new motorcycle, but only if I'm single.
You can have it.
If you're breaking up with your boyfriend.
Right. And now my dad, who I think actually likes him, just goes along with it to avoid drama. The final straw was recently when I found out that they put a hidden camera inside the house while they were on vacation without telling me.
Isn't that illegal?
What?
Is that illegal?
It's in their own house.
It's in their own house.
Oh, it's their own house.
Yeah.
Oh,
She's just
ooh.
living with her parents.
It wasn't for the dogs. It felt like a huge breach of trust, and it really hurt. The thing is, my friends, coworkers, and extended family all like him. He's not the problem. The problem is this constant pressure at home. We just toured some apartments and applied for one we love. The move-in date is in 2 weeks. I have a solid full-time job and my own car. I'm fully ready for this. But now that it's real, I'm freaking out about telling my parents. They have no idea I'm doing this, and I know it's going to blow up when I tell them. Am I the a-hole? And there is an edit. I'm just worried about telling her because she has a history of lashing out verbally when I don't do exactly what she wants. She also has a history with regular booze use. She quit for a while, but now it's slowly seeping back in. There are some comments. Comment number 1 says, personally, I would move out all my important stuff before telling them. I do not mean your clothes or furniture, but the things that could not easily be replaced. Documentation such as birth certificate, passport, laptop, any truly meaningful trinkets, inherited jewelry, for example. Once that is out, I would tell them as I was carrying a big bag of all my clothes out of the house. Someone responds, also, secretly get a new phone. Gradually shift the context that you want to keep the new one. The day you leave, factory reset the old one and leave it on mom's table. Best of luck to you and fly free, not the a-hole. Comment number 2 says, sounds like mama has a really, really bad case of empty nest syndrome and doesn't want to let go. She's beginning to realize you're grown up and she doesn't want to let go of you. If you have a stable job, move the heck out. Boyfriend sounds like a good man, but don't depend on him. Every woman needs her own. Comment number 3 says, not the a-hole. You are of age, can support yourself. You can do what you want. Have your parents acted this way with other boyfriends? Is there a possibility that they see something that the others do not? OP says, she's always had issues with every boyfriend I've had. There's only one she liked, and he ended up being the worst of them all. She's just progressively gotten worse with her feelings and how she treats me no matter who I date. But we do have an update. We signed our lease yesterday and are paying our deposit and first month's rent today. I went home and told my parents what was happening, and of course, I couldn't help but cry because I knew that they would freak out. Of course, they freaked out. I told them I was moving out, and they asked if it was with my boyfriend, and I said yes. My dad said that he was disappointed, and then my mom ran downstairs and made herself throw up for dramatic effect. They then proceeded to ask questions like, when are you leaving? How much is it? Etc. I answered their questions, and then we started into that I lied and deceived them. I didn't know I was doing this until last Saturday, and how I was being sneaky because I knew that I was doing it wrong. I was told that I was stupid for choosing to live with him and wrap myself up with him, and that I gave this zero thought. But I've been thinking about this for a couple of years. Planning for about 3. I have run so many spreadsheets to make sure that it was a financially sound decision and plan for the unexpected. Boyfriend and I have been together for 3 years, so really no worry about us not getting along or anything. We have the maturity to deal with things in a civil manner if things didn't work out. My parents continue to pester me about how much they don't like him and that they wish that I would have come to them for help. I told them I wasn't comfortable with that because they likely would have tried to change my mind or alter my decision. They tried to pry my boyfriend's financial information out of me, like his credit score, and I told them that it was none of their business and that even my financials are none of their business. They also talked about the fact that he should try harder to earn their respect and a relationship with them, in which I replied, it's a little difficult considering you won't allow him anywhere around you. They replied, well, he could work on improving his finances and living situation to earn our respect.
They're moving.
He's doing that.
They're literally improving their living situation.
He's saying that I can afford an apartment.
Yeah, I don't
What?
understand. That's actively happening right now.
I said, we are not here to impress you or make you happy. Of course, this upset them.
They're like, what? What do you mean you're not here to impress us?
Like, what do you mean?
Come on, dance, monkey.
They tried to tell me that I have 3 days to rescind the property. This isn't true. That's only if you buy a property or a car. They also told me that if they'd been involved in the decision-making process, they would have helped pay my rent and bought me furniture, and I said I didn't want that.
No, they would have helped pay rent if you were single.
Yeah, exactly. And then even if they actually did pay rent for this situation, they would like use that as reason
Every
to
time,
have
yeah.
a say in other things in
Oh.
your life. I was also told that I have no ambition, but I just graduated college with my bachelor's degree, started my own graphic design business, and worked a full-time job
that pays well. And I bought my own car last summer. My dad also told me that I was bound to fail several times in life, and that this may be one of those times. What a lovely thing to say to someone as they go out in the world. After about 2 hours of arguing and putting me down, my mother insisted that my dad drive her to the liquor store. He refused.
At least
Good.
the dad is slightly sensible.
Yeah. She tried 3 more times until he finally gave in. Okay, never mind.
Never mind.
Fast forward to this morning. My dad says to me as I sit down for breakfast, I'm sitting at the dining table and he's at the kitchen counter. This is our common seating. No one sits at the table with me. The discussion about this apartment isn't over. So I ask what he wants to talk about. He proceeds to tell me that I am jeopardizing their finances because he is a co-borrower on my motorcycle and that I won't be paying for the horse anymore. We split expenses. He told me I had 30 days to refinance and get my motorcycle out of his name or I have to sell it. I told them that they could give the horse back to her owner as the old owner already said that they'd love to have her back if the opportunity ever arises. So either this is a literal horse or this is just a big metaphor for a motorcycle.
I think this is a horse. I think OP has a motorcycle and a horse.
That's wild.
Yeah.
The issue with them saying that it puts them in a financial situation is that they just bought a $1,000 car and are spending thousands of dollars on vacation this year. Money is not an issue. They then proceeded to tell me how I think they're such terrible parents and how stupid I am for making this decision. They try to tell me that if I can somehow get out of this lease, they'll help me pick out another apartment with their help and money. I said I didn't want any strings attached to them. So then they start arguing more about that I have given this no thought and that I act like I'm 16. I left for work before even eating breakfast because I was sick of the treatment I was getting. So now I am stressing about trying to get my motorcycle refinanced. I'm worried about being denied and then having to sell it. I know the horse will be in a loving home with her old owners. I only have a few days left in their house, but I worry about going home now that I'll be pestered.
Probably.
Yeah, there are some comments. Comment number 1 says, have your parents ever given a legitimate reason for not liking your boyfriend? Opie says their biggest gripe is that he comes from a lower class family.
Yeah, these people are rich.
Yeah.
They're rich.
He has already far surpassed anything his family has done in life. They say he's a one-upper whenever he talks, but this is not true. All of my friends and other family like him. And that is the end of that story.
Dang.
Wait,
man.
what?
Yeah, you just gotta move out. Your parents are gonna hold you down if you stay there.
Yeah.
And they're gonna if you take any of their money, it's not a free lunch.
No, but you know what is free? Listening to more full episodes of stories just like this one on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever your favorite podcast app is, and search OK Storytime. But that is the end of that story.
Wow. Good luck, OP, and good luck with your horse. I hope it returns to its loving owner.
Say a very nice goodbye to your horse. That's the end of the story and the end of the episode.
Oh boy.
Would you look at that? So, if you love us, make sure to subscribe.
We love you
And see you tomorrow.
My friend was rude to my mother, so I confronted him about it.
Not my mommy.
About a year ago, I moved in with my mom, who lives in a very touristy destination. Several of my friends expressed interest in coming for a visit. None more than John. He immediately asked when he could come for a visit, and continued to ask every time we spoke until I told him he could visit any time during this month. By the way, this comes from user houseguest from the Lake of Fire, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. When he asked to stay for 12 days, I hesitated. But I said yes because A, flights are expensive, and that might have been the cheapest option, and B, he recently had a family member pass away, and that hit him very hard, and I wanted to offer what I could to help him recover. The trouble started when he sent me his itinerary, and 12 days had somehow turned into 14. I didn't say anything because the tickets were already booked and I didn't want him to feel unwelcome. When he arrived, the weather wasn't good and he was a bit mopey, so I took him to some indoor attractions. He was worried about the weather because he wanted to see all the good stuff. However, he hadn't done any research and had no idea what the good stuff was. I told him that if he knew what he had wanted to do, we could make some plans, and that he was more than welcome to use our neighbor's van. They let us borrow it when they are out of town. The next day, I had a car problem, and my mom and I ended up spending the most of the day getting it fixed. John came with us and was grumpy the whole day, but didn't ask us to be dropped off anywhere or to use the van. That night, he said he felt like he was wasting time, so I asked him to do some research and make a list of the things he wants to do. He did make a list, and we've been able to accomplish some of the things on it. He keeps proclaiming, I don't care what we do as long as we hit everything on my list. The problem with that sentence is the we. I don't have a traditional job, but I have things I need to do and deadlines to meet. He's treating this like we're on vacation together instead of as me doing him a favor by showing him a few places and giving him a place to stay. I informed him that I would not be joining him for the remainder of the big activities on his list, and he seemed to take it okay. Yesterday, Mom drove John and me to another place on his list, but on the way home we realized the van was not safe to drive and needed maintenance the next day. Bad luck, I know. John's response to all that was, well, will I have a car tomorrow? Mom just told him she didn't know, and when we discussed it in private later, we decided to tell him he should rent a car. I had a meeting I had to go to today and told him that I would drop him off at the rental agency early in the morning on my way. He said okay, but didn't try making a reservation until this morning. As I was getting ready to go, he informed me that there was no rental cars available in the entire city and that he'd be staying with my mom all day. I've just finished my meeting, but have a few other errands to do, and I'm trying to figure out what to do with him when I get home. In addition to the above issues, these are some of the other things that are driving my mom and me crazy. Leaving his stuff everywhere. Saying he would help with the dishes, but then disappearing until someone else starts doing them. Leaving lights on after I told him multiple times. Not correctly sorting his recycling after my mom told him multiple times. Making snarky comments about how we have so many rules when we bring up the lights or recycling. Asking me to cook for him. Complaining about a lack of food. Changing the temperature in the car while someone else is driving. Putting on religious music in the car and insisting on finishing the song after I told him it makes me uncomfortable. Saying that I invited him to stay several times when in actuality he kept asking to stay. John and I have known each other for about 10 years. He sort of mentored me through some difficult periods in my life, and I value his friendship dearly. Just booting him out of the house is not an option, but Mom and I are both stretched to our limits. How do my mom and I deal with him and maintain our boundaries, space, and sanity? Should I talk to him about his bad behavior as a whole? I think he honestly has no idea that he's being rude. He's told me he appreciates my honest and sometimes blunt feedback about his dating life. He wants to get married, and I worry that his inconsiderate behavior will prevent him from having a healthy relationship with a partner. So he's about to head out on his own for an overnight trip. Luckily, there will only be a couple of days left in his trip when he returns, and I will be sitting him down to discuss his behavior before he leaves. And there's an update. I was going to say, yeah, of course you need to talk to him. John, what are we thinking?
Oh, this John is not Johning.
Yeah, no, this John is Jonathaning.
He's Jonathaning, that's for sure. All offense meant to all Jonathans out there. I will fight you. Yeah, it's bro just doesn't get. I mean, I guess that there was that one little tidbit at the end where OP was like, every time I shared it, he was actually grateful for the blunt feedback. Maybe he genuinely doesn't understand, which I think we've all known one of those guys at some point where it's like maybe they're not malicious, but they just don't get it.
Update. When I last updated, he was planning to go for an overnight trip in a city about 100 miles away. There were no rental cars available, so we let him use the van after we had it fixed. I suggested he get a hotel, however, they had all been booked up. My mom suggested Airbnb, but he claimed not to know what it was, which I find hard to believe, but whatever. Jonathan ended up going on 3 separate day trips to this city. We were both pretty annoyed that he had no qualms about putting that many miles on our cars, but at the same time, it was worth it to get him out of the house. Today is his last day, but his flight is late tonight. This morning, he announced his intention to take my car to another place about 50 miles away. I expressed concern about him driving so far, and me having to take another long trip to take him to the airport, and he said, "So what? I'll gas up your car." I told him we needed to talk and asked him to come outside with me. As a few of you suggested, I told him that since he has said he appreciates my blunt feedback, I was going to give it to him right now. I told him that this was not intended to attack or berate him, but I needed to let him know how his behavior made my mom and I feel. I told him that it wasn't cool that he extended his trip by 2 days and just assumed I'd be available to take him around. I told him it was taking advantage to take those 3 super long trips in our car, and that perhaps if he had planned in advance, he could have arranged for accommodations instead of expecting me to be his personal tour guide. I told him that every single other person who has stayed with us has offered to rent a car, And that my mom was offended when she told him we had to do maintenance on the van, and instead of offering to stay near our house or get an Uber, he only asked if we would have a car to drive. I told him that messing with the heater in the car without asking says the only thing that matters is my comfort, and I don't care about the rest of you. That's what? I'm sorry, I'm on OP's side here, but changing the heat settings in the car is fundamentally disrespectful. I think we're jumping the shark there a little bit.
I think it's just like annoying, but like I mean, it does kind of show that he's just like not thinking about.
I
other
think the
people.
major context we're missing is how hot was it outside, and then from that we can see if he was the a-hole or not.
Yeah, what was the temp?
At some point, if you don't want the guy driving your car, you got to say, nope. You want to drive my car another 100 miles away? Nope.
Well, Opie's spelling all of it out. Now, I think it's good to kind of spell out, like, hey, like it is like annoying to have someone, just like, I'm changing this.
Right. It
Like,
feels like,
What about us, bro?
I said, you can stay here, and you have somehow interpreted that as me and my mom will be your personal concierge. That's not the accommodation.
Would you like a new car, sir?
Yeah.
That I don't have. It's in the shop, sir.
I will fetch
Sorry.
it for you forthright, post haste.
Come on.
I told him that despite the fact that he has made it a habit to leave lights on and not recycle, he needs to break that habit because it is unacceptable to not follow the rules when someone opens their home to you. I also told him that the thing that made me feel the most taken advantage of was when he belittled me for having so many rules. I went on to tell him that the reason for me telling him this was not only for my own sanity, but to make him aware of a problem that was going to prevent him from ever forming a meaningful and healthy relationship. I mentioned in the original post that he desperately wants to get married. I told him that if I didn't care about him, I would have booted him out long ago and never talked to him again. But that I decided it was worth it to tell him because I thought he would reflect on what I was telling him and figure out a way to change his behavior. And by the way, something that will never change is the fact that you can listen to full episodes with stories just like this on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search OK Storytime. Okay, so we're approaching the end. So he listened and didn't make excuses. He apologized and said he would think about what I had told him. He apologized to my mom after we went back inside, and they had a little chat about how certain things he says rub people the wrong way. My mom advised him to consider how things he says might be interpreted. He called an Uber and left several hours before the flight. He offered to leave money for his use of the cars, but we told him not to. After we left, we found it in his room anyway. Overall, I have learned to set boundaries when I have someone come and stay. My new rules are no one stays longer than a week. Guests have to rent a car. If I have to question whether I can handle a person for a few days, that person is not invited. I will clearly communicate to guests ahead of time that they will be expected to make their own plans and that if I am able to, I will join them, but I will not be their personal tour guide. And that is the end of that story.
I gave my father an ultimatum about his life choices, but it changed nothing. Trigger warning, booze. Over the past year and a half, my family has been having some problems centered around my dad's drinking.
It's going to be a little intense.
So if you guys do not want to hear that story, come back probably in 30 minutes. I am 18, my brother is 16, and my parents are 40 male, 41 female. By the way, this comes from Dad is an alcoholic help. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So when the drinking started, both of my parents have always drank adult soda to unwind after the day a couple of nights a week. They don't get sloppy wasted or binge drink. They never drink and drive, have never been violent, nothing like that. So I have no problem with their adult soda drinking. About a year and a half ago, my dad had cut back on his hours at work and got depressed. He is a very intelligent man, and I think he could have been so successful if he had devoted himself to his studies when he was younger. He has always loved science and has a passion for astronomy. After 20 years as a manager/fry cook at the same restaurant, though, he really felt unfulfilled with his life. As a result, he turned to whiskey. When my dad drinks whiskey, he turns into the biggest a-hole I have ever met. He gets really slurred, belligerent, and all around annoying. It was just something my family put up with for a few months, but the nights where he'd get wasted became more and more frequent. Sometimes he would ask me to take him to the liquor store after he had already been drinking adult soda, and I obliged because I didn't want to make him mad and I hadn't realized the extent of the problem yet. He was drinking a large bottle of crappy, cheap whiskey every time he got wasted. He usually only drank later at night until he tried to quit smoking early February of this year. He would start drinking as soon as he got home from work, 2 to 3 p.m., to try to curb his nicotine cravings.
Oof, yeah, and that if that's not the most addiction-coded strategy for quitting cigarettes I've ever seen in my life, that's bad.
But as you can imagine, it really only made them worse. My mom and I were becoming increasingly unhappy as this went on for around a month. They would have a brief verbal fight almost every night until my mom just said F it and went to bed. I dreaded coming home every day, not knowing how wasted he would be. I acted pretty cold to him when he would try to talk to me during this time. One night, I came home at 5:45 p.m. as he was angrily storming out of the house to get in his car. He has never drank and drove before or even attempted to. He usually spends the night at whichever friend's house he was playing poker at or gets a ride, so this was pretty uncharacteristic of him. Apparently, he had asked my brother to drive him to the liquor store when he realized he didn't have any whiskey. My brother has a permit but hadn't driven in a few months and didn't feel comfortable driving on the highway at such a busy time of night, so he said no. I took my dad to the liquor store so he wouldn't drive, and we had an argument on the way there. I was giving him the cold shoulder, obviously, and it went something along the lines of him. Oh, so you're really going to act like that, huh? Is that how you're going to be? God dang, you make me want to buy cigs while I'm there. Me. I'll turn this freaking car around right now if you do. Don't you dare try to blame this on me when Mom and I have been nothing but supportive and encouraging even when you're being such a knucklehead. He said something, and I ended up getting in the turning lane, but he said he wouldn't buy any, so I took him on the condition that I would leave him there if he bought any. I made him empty his pockets in front of me and check the receipt before I let him in the car, and I called him pathetic. We drove home in silence. When it came to a head, around 2 weeks after that incident, my mom came out of a room where she had been talking to my dad and asked me to take her to a friend's house. I asked her what was going on, but she asked me to please take her. She needed to get away for a while. She just had this eternal sadness about her. It was awful. So we got in the car, and I kept asking her what was going on. She kept saying, I just needed to get away. I've tried my last try. I've done all I can do. I pushed the subject, and she told me that they had not had spicy sleep in 2 years. Why are you telling your daughter this?
Why are we involving these people?
This really pissed me off. My mother has always done so much for me and my brother. She works 45 hours a week, Monday through Friday, without fail, takes care of all the finances, our dogs, and the housework, while my dad pretty much does nothing. He makes less than half of what she does in 1 week when he used to make more than her, and we're pretty poor. So not only was my dad not satisfying her financially or emotionally anymore, he wasn't even satisfying her spicily.
Why are the kids tuned into that?
I mean, I'm sure she's going through a really, really hard time, but don't involve your kids in that. I was so angry, I almost cried right there. But I didn't. I dropped my mom off and went home. My dad was pissed off at me when I got home, but he just left me alone in my room after asking whose house she was staying at. I got online later that night to look at my mom's bank account to budget whether or not we could afford to move out. I found out we could, and I also found out the extent of my dad's whiskey purchases. It came out to around $90 a week when he only makes $250 a week. I called my mom and told her we could afford it if we moved out. I said I loved her and told her good night. She came back the next day and my dad was angry, but it kind of fizzled out. After that, he started smoking again and drinking decidedly less, although still too often and too much. During all of this time, I had never really spoken to him about how much it hurt me. My mom had relayed some things I had told her, but I was too chicken to talk to him when I normally never avoid confrontation. The past 2 weeks after that, my dad drank less, but I was still angry at him for what he had put us through. My mom, brother, and I had some emotional conversations about it, and my mom told my dad about how she had been depressed in the past and that something had to give. They had to start having spicy sleep again, and he needed to quit drinking. She told him that I pretty much thought he was a loser. I also found out that the night I had taken her to a friend's house, she had made up her mind to leave him, but she decided to try again. My mom is such a strong woman and isn't the type to give up on someone so easily, as you can tell. He cried with her about it and promised he would change. He wrote me a letter 2 weeks ago and apologized for what he had put me through. He told me he had been depressed and had begun to take my brother and I for granted, even though we've been such awesome kids, and that he took my mom for granted too. He acknowledged that he had been drinking too much and promised to be a better man. But I think OP just like realized this is someone who is actively, has a drinking problem, and it doesn't just go away with them saying words. This is someone who needs professional help, and he's not doing it because he doesn't like you or, this is an addiction. I hugged him and told him I loved him after reading it, but I didn't get my hopes up for change as I've been disappointed by him so many times in the past. Well, I was right not to get my hopes up. Things had started to look up because he was being nicer to my mom and they started having spicy sleep again. You shouldn't know this. You should not know that.
What are the age? What are their ages?
18.
I
She's
don't
18.
think at 18. I don't want to. At 24, I don't want to know.
I don't like either of your parents.
I don't think either of your
I
parents should be
really-
telling you anything about their
Yep.
spicy life. That's totally inappropriate. He didn't stop drinking whiskey at all, though. He just started trying to hide it. I found bottles of whiskey in our game room. I don't know why he thought I wasn't going to go in there and check for bottles, but I do every night. This past weekend, my mom went camping with her friends, and he sent me a text that said, "Disclaimer, I got some whiskey for tonight." I just sent him back a ... When he got home and I was acting cold, he asked me what was wrong. I responded that he could probably figure it out on his own. Then he said, "The whiskey? Ugh, just get over it." Does he think I am so naive as to not notice? I'm 18, not 4. I can tell that something is off when he goes out to the car to get cigs and walks in oddly holding his arm over his pocket to try to cover the bottle of whiskey. That happened last night, and I have been so angry all day thinking about it. I cried at school while venting to a friend about it, which was embarrassing. I really just want to rip up the letter and leave it in his chair and in the bottles in the game room so he'll bring it up since I'm too chicken to. I hate avoiding conflict, which I never do, but I'm so scared of him actively choosing the whiskey over me once I lay it all out on the line. I just keep thinking about a video I saw where someone laid out a huge pile of jelly beans with each jelly bean representing one day of your life. He took away all the time the average person spends on leisure and basic tasks and work until you're left with not very many jelly beans at all. I don't want to waste any more of a quote-unquote jelly bean worrying over this when I'm about to start a new life in the fall. I love my mother so much. She's my best friend, and I'm afraid that if I don't talk to my dad anymore, I won't be able to see her as much since my college is 7 hours away. I talked to her about it again tonight, and she told me she understood how I felt. Her dad was a booziac too, which I already knew, so she really does know what I'm going through. She said things were starting to look up since the restaurant he works at is revamping itself, and he'll be working more. She told me she wasn't necessarily going to stay forever, and that if things really didn't improve anymore, she'll leave. I just don't know how much longer I can keep doing this, though. I told her I was not going to act all hunky-dory around him anymore. I'm at the point where he can either have whiskey in his life or his daughter. I really don't even want him to come to my graduation in 3 weeks either. That's how much I can't stand him. Help. And there is an update. This is not your responsibility. You don't know how, you're not a professional. You don't know how to fix this. Rightfully so. And I think this is like, you're about to go off to college. Obviously, I'm sure you want to like keep your, brother, like keep in touch with your brother and everything and keep in touch with your mom. But I think it's creating a space so that you emotionally are doing okay. Because you have this heavy burden. And it's just too much for an 18-year-old to bear. Update. Since I posted a little over a week ago, not much has changed. This Saturday night after I posted, my dad was drinking again and was wasted at this point. I could kind of hear him and my mom talking about the whole situation and his depression out on the back porch. After a while, he went out to his car and I'm assuming got whiskey because he was walking strangely and went straight into the game room where he drinks. When he went back outside, I mustered up the courage to go out there and said something along these lines. Me. So are you guys talking about it or what? Him. Silence. Me. All right, fine. You don't have to answer. I'll bring it up and say what I want to say. You're a booziac, and I hate it. Every time you pick up the bottle, it makes me hate you. You used to be such an awesome father, and I don't know what's happened to you. I understand that people get depressed, but I feel like you took us all for granted. Every time you drink, you act fine. That's how you guys like to relax and have fun after work sometimes. I get it. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with the whiskey. Every time you start drinking it, you turn into an a-hole. You're annoying and you push my buttons. And what really pisses me off is that you wrote me that letter saying you were going to change and that you love me and all that other crap, but you didn't even stop drinking for a frickin' day. That is not what I consider to be change. So you can choose whiskey or me. You can't have them both. I love you and I want you to get better, but apparently that the loving approach isn't working with you. It never has before, so an ultimatum is my only way to go. But I'll tell you what, if you're going to try to act like you don't drink whiskey anymore, but you do, I'll find out and then I will be gone forever. And you're going to miss out on being a part of my awesome life that I have ahead of me. I'm sure that's a lot more put together than what I actually said, but I did feel like I covered all of the main points I wanted to in my little speech. I felt really proud of myself for keeping a calm tone throughout the whole time, too. Anyway, he just didn't say anything after that, so I slammed the sliding glass door and went back to the computer. They were silent for a couple of minutes until I heard my mom say, "Well, I don't even know what to say right now." And then I couldn't hear the rest of their talk, nor did I really want to. My mom came in and talked to me, told me she loved me, etc., and I told her I was fine, I felt good, and all that jazz. I feel bad because at one point she had tried to interrupt me and I told her to shut up. I normally don't ever say anything like that to her, but I was in a rush to get all of my feelings and thoughts out at once since I had been keeping them inside for so long. I apologized to her and she accepted. Over the past week, not much has gotten better at all. He drank twice last week. I don't know if he did last night, but I know he did tonight. I've been very short with him, not saying anything at all if I don't have to. I haven't told him I love you or said goodnight back, nothing like that. My voice is always pretty monotone, but I'm trying not to sound witchy, just totally indifferent. I'm being eaten up by it on the inside, though. I am utterly, completely heartbroken.
Yo, if his habits are, as addictions often are, like motivated by like guilt or shame, and then you're bringing to him like, hey, I'm like ashamed of you and you should feel guilty about how you drink, it sort of just like amplifies the downward spiral. It's like, so it's, and you were totally in the right, and it's like you needed to stand up for yourself and say that, and it's like to get that off of you, but it's like, again, I think this is just, your dad needs a addiction specialist.
Yeah,
because
like
it's
you're
like,
18, you don't know.
Of course, you're 18, and a lot of times people, it's like that feels like the right thing to do in that situation. It's like try to wake them up, like, hey, this is reality, but then like, yeah, it can just kind of, I mean, he kept drinking because he probably felt guilty and ashamed about it, but so maybe look into resources and just take the burden of like this, any of that change off of you because it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah. I didn't expect him to stop drinking whiskey when I gave him the ultimatum, but it really, really sucks to be right about that. I was on a school senior trip this weekend and I talked about it to one of my friends and had a pretty good crying and venting session. I've been talking to my friends about it for a while, but nothing beats a heart-to-heart in the dark, especially on a front porch on the river at 1 a.m. It was a very peaceful moment, even though I felt sad and alone. By the way, you can listen to full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. And there is a little bit left to this story, but do you have any final advice for OP?
Focus on school. Go to school.
Yeah.
Focus on you. Maybe learn more about addiction.
I think
that's really all you can do is educate yourself.
Knowing that your dad is on his own journey, and so is your mom. Like, she's kind of stuck in this relationship. And the thing about, like, oh, she doesn't want to quit, it's tricky because this is not a healthy relationship for anyone. But that's their own thing. They're adults. They're making choices. And I think, just choose yourself. And that's all you can do right now.
Yeah.
But there is a little bit left to this story. To those who suggested going to an AA meeting, I've been looking into it. My only problem is that I'm agnostic in a very Christian area. So I know I be with people who are talking about the Christian God as their higher power. I'm going to try not this Monday, but next and see if I like it. In the meantime, I'm going to read some books on my situation. I found a few that I want my mom to read too. My graduation is this Saturday, and even though I really don't want him there, I'm not sure I can keep him from going. I wish this wasn't going to overshadow what's supposed to be my day to celebrate my accomplishments these past 4 years, but I don't know what else can be done. I mean, you can say I don't want you to come, or you tell your mom. Hopefully he'll listen to that.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
I think oh, I'm sorry. Someone is pointing this out to me. Just me is saying Al-Anon is for the family. AA is for the actual person going through the substance abuse.
Okay.
Okay. So
yeah, they
I actually
they
did not.
say
I was not aware of that.
Al-Anon in the. I just thought we couldn't say that. That's
Yeah,
fine,
I just yeah.
They did say Al-Anon in the post.
Yes.
To be clear.
I did not know that that was a thing.
I also didn't know that.
That is, and that's the new thing I learned today.
Yeah. But yeah, for anyone who's experiencing this with a family member or has experienced this, reach out to the people that love you and your support system. Check out Al-Anon or AA.
And you're going to school. You're 18. You're going to college. Like really, like focus.
Yeah.
Lock into that.
Lock into your life.
And then just don't hold any like hate or resentment in your heart. Just wish them the best.